Sit.
On the shores of the Mediterranean with ancient Roman roots, MotoGP is back in Valencia for the first time in 2023, and for the last dance in an unforgettable season. 30 minutes and 30 kilometres from downtown Valencia, the city is full of vibrant culture and unique character. It's the 44th and final race of the season, so for the last time in 2025, it's time to race in MotoGP. 4.005 kilometres, just under 2.5 miles. That's the Ricardo Tormo circuit here on the outskirts of Spain's third largest city in Valencia. 14 corners, 5 of them right, none of them left. One of the tightest and shortest layouts on our record-breaking 22-round Grand Prix calendar. Be careful into that turn 2. We saw the two Hondas of Granmir and Luca Marini clash out of contention in the sprint there yesterday. Turn 8 is always a tricky braking zone as well around this Ricardo Tormo circuit. And you have to be careful managing the rear tyre going through turn 13. 1, 2 and 8, most of them banding for the brakes. That turn 13 is where it really is tough on the Michelin tyres. So many overtaking opportunities around this circuit. This was Marc Marquez early on the Grand Prix 2 years ago. So the final sprint action of 2025 saw Marco Bezzecchi find the factory in pole position. The front start device, so not disengaging until turn 2, saw the Italian drop back quickly through the field from pole down to 6. There was this controversial collision between Jack Miller and Fermin Aldeguer, which dropped the Australian eventually out of the points after he served a long lap penalty. Bezzecchi fought his way back through into the top 6, but it was Alex Marquez who crowned what's been a fantastic 2025 so far with our final sprint gold medal around the Spaniard's neck. Coming up next, it's the countdown, it's the build-up to our 44th race in this incredible milestone MotoGP World Championship. 22 races, the continents, 18 countries. We have been to the 4 corners of the globe, haven't we? Championship, of course, decided quite some time ago now, 6 or 7 weeks ago in actual fact, when we started our 4-race flyaway tour over in Japan. Marc Marquez wresting back control of the World Championship, being crowned a 7 times MotoGP World Champion. He's the new reference once again. He's going to be the rider to beat 2026. That is not up for question. Brilliant, isn't it, to be back in Valencia, our first visit to this wonderful city and this great circuit in 2 years. Of course, we send out thoughts and prayers once again to all of the victims and the Valencian community. The devastating floods. Stopped our visit here 1 year ago. MotoGP, of course, the MotoGP family and community coming together to contribute almost €2 million to the relief fund for Valencia. We have been welcomed back with open arms to a season finale round in 2025. First Grand Prix took place here all the way back in 1999. We'll close and sign off 2025 the top step of the podium. As you can see, some of the Saturday morning sunshine we were blessed here on the Mediterranean East Coast. That has deserted us somewhat for our main race day. It is dry, if a little bit cool and a little bit chilly. Alex Marquez then, our final sprint winner of the season, will be our final Grand Prix winner of the campaign. Alex Marquez has had so much success so far in 2025. Yesterday's sprint victory, his 27th podium. He's never had a double win though, has he, in MotoGP. Talking you through then all of our season closing action in this milestone campaign. Matt Burton, there was still to be the Coxbox. Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Just 27 laps then remaining of the championship. Marco Bezzecchi on pole position for the factory. Pretty trying to be the first Aprilia rider ever to win back-to-back Grand Prix after he triumphed over in Portimao over the Portuguese-Spanish border 7 days ago. 6 different winners in MotoGP in the last 6 Grand Prix for the first time in 5 years. But it's great to be back. Pedro Acosta. How many times have we asked this question, Lewis, in 2025? Well, this is, we keep saying, is today the day? Well, this is the last day for Acosta to become the first-time MotoGP winner in 2025.
Today isn't the day. His next opportunity will be on the 1st of March 2026 when we line up again in Buriram, the first Sunday Grand Prix of next season. Only thing in Pedro Acosta's mind here today, trying to end his wait for a maiden victory. In fairness, yesterday, I don't think it was going to happen, but any hope of it happening ended there with that mistake into turn 8. See how much Pedro Acosta was pushing, try and keep up with and ultimately overhaul Alex Marquez. In the end, he did neither, as the 73 streaked clear for a sprint victory, which underlines why he is the second best rider in MotoGP in 2025. And I guess underlines to Pedro Acosta just how much he still needs to do to finally get that first victory. He's had to, of course, wait since his MotoGP career began to claim victory. KTM have had to wait until, or since the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez in 2023, when they last won a sprint. Let's go back to Buriram in 2022 for the last time they won a Sunday Grand Prix. That was in the wet conditions of Buriram with Miguel Oliveira. You have to go all the way back to the Catalan Grand Prix of 2021 for the last time that we saw KTM win a full dry Grand Prix. So much still to be settled this final day of the season. We actually have some breaking news that has just dropped that we can bring you now. The Yamaha, as we're talking to you, have officially just confirmed via a press release that they will switch to the V4 engine for 2026. They've announced that last minute also. So we can officially confirm to you and to Fabio Quartararo and company that the V4 will race across all Yamaha teams in 2026.
Yeah, good luck being the person that would have told Fabio Quartararo they weren't racing at the V4 in 2026. Yeah, expected news and emerging from Yamaha. We welcome back, of course, this weekend. Great to see our now former MotoGP World Champion Jorge Martin back in action on the factory Aprilia. And Maverick Vinales also back after a long injury level. He's missed 8 Grand Prix so far this year, his Vinales. It's a shoulder injury he suffered in that wet Q2 over the Sachsenring Grand Prix in Germany. Really has completely compromised the second half of the campaign for Vinales. But he's back in action. Good to see him ready to go here in Valencia. Alex Marquez there, sprint winner in pretty emphatic and dominant fashion over 13 laps yesterday, wasn't he? Michele Massini told Jack on the sprint grid yesterday that they expect Alex to be strong in the sprint, but stronger today. Well, given how strong he was in that sprint, that's a rather worrying message coming out of Gresini as far as the chasing pack are concerned.
Silver surfer as he is this afternoon, riding a wave of momentum from his sprint win yesterday. He's seen quite a lot of silver, it's fair to say, this season, with many a second place, which has ultimately contributed to second place in the World Championship. That is the very eye-catching livery. But the 73 will run here this afternoon for the final Grand Prix of the season, looking to achieve something, as Matt mentioned, that he hasn't done before. That's a double in MotoGP. His route to the first half of that was paved clear by this fast start at the beginning of the sprint yesterday. Once he passed Marco Bezzecchi, there was never really much doubt as to who the sprint winner was going to be.
Yesterday was Alex's 17th sprint podium. 15 have come in this remarkable 2025. So many historic moments in this historic season, of course. Completed one of them by the Marquez siblings. First time ever we've had 2 brothers, first and second, in the MotoGP World Championship. It all started, the writing was on the wall, wasn't it, for the opposition in 2025 when over in Thailand, our first Grand Prix, a 1-2 for Mark and Alex, the first time 2 brothers had ever finished first and second in a Grand Prix. Ending the season strongly as well. There's been some magic moments, hasn't there, so far for Trackhouse Racing. The highlight, Ralph Fernandez's maiden victory over in Phillip Island. There's been sprint podiums, close to sprint podium yesterday, wasn't he, Ralph Fernandez? and they end 2025 on the box score. Let's get the thoughts of Trackhouse boss Justin Marks, who's with Jack.
Yeah, great to be joined by Justin. First time I've seen him for quite some time, and quite a bit of sadness I've last seen you, Justin. Your team now officially MotoGP winners. What was the emotion like on that day watching?
Oh man, I wish I was there with everybody. I mean, the best part of it was just how excited everybody on the team. They've worked so hard. You know, we came in 2024. We told them that if we do what we're doing is stick with something that I think we can accomplish within these. So I was just incredibly happy for Raul. He's gone through an amazing growth period for himself this year. He's definitely in contention to win the race today. Very confident on his bike today. But Australia was that's where the magic happens. That's what we're here. We're racers. We want to win, and I was just really happy for that.
As you say, that the team have been so successful in four wheels with NASCAR. So how did the emotion compare to have finally done it with these very young projects with two wheels?
Well, it closed the circle. I mean, it made the story complete that we were trying to shoot for right now in this age of the company, and that, you know, it's a difficult thing. We're racing two disciplines that are just so different from each other. There's not a lot of crossover. There's not a lot of learnings from each other. There are some, but they're so unique. It's just great for the Trackhouse story that we can go and we can say, look, we're trying to do something cool and unique and new in the motorsports industry, but we're also racers, we're competitors, and winning is the most important thing. So I would say one of the coolest things for me personally was, you know, watching that race from Charlotte Motor Speedway the weekend that we were racing in NASCAR, and we won the NASCAR race the next day, and for that later that day, and walking down through the garage area and seeing all the fans in the NASCAR community congratulating us on the MotoGP.
Must be really excited for what's to come next year as well. Raul in great form at the moment. Finally realising that potential. We've seen the ship. In moments, what are you capable?
We have two incredible riders. And Raul's really embraced his role as a leader on the team. You know, everybody moves at a different pace. Everybody grows at a different speed. And Raul's just in a place really good mentally right now. He really understands what he needs from the bike. He's riding confidently. He's healthy. He's doing good. So very excited about what's ahead, because there's a lot of talent in that young man. A lot of races. Confident where the Aprilia bike is. I think it's going to continue to get better. Excited about what they're working on behind the scenes. And then I mean, you know, it's the way that he came out of the gate here early in this really shows me that he's just only going to get better. And I think next year, the sophomore year, being able to go back to all these tracks for a second time, having against them on a MotoGP bike before, they can better and better and better. So I think we have the bikes to win, we have the mechanics to win, and the team to win, and certainly have riders that can come through.
As you should be, well, hopefully, safe for you. Great to see you. Enjoy the race.
Appreciate it. Have fun.
Yeah, great little interview that, Jack. Thank you very much with Trackhouse boss Justin Marks. So they've certainly made their mark, haven't they, in MotoGP this season, contributing to Aprilia's most successful season in the MotoGP World Championship. 3 wins so far, 2 for Bezzecchi, 1 for Ralph Fernandez, and that brilliant Phillip Island Grand Prix. Around me, unfortunately, one of 2 Spanish stars in this upcoming 27-lap season finale that will have to be in the long lap. One for Mia because of this moment which cleaned out Marini yesterday, Lewis.
All the riders to take out with unerring accuracy was his teammate Luca Marini, who was swept up along into the gravel trap by the errant Juan Mir, who, as you can see there, was immediately clasping his hands in apology in the direction of Luca Marini, who had said, you know, it happens, he wasn't too fussed, too disappointed with it. Marini once again, I guess, cursing how he was the third rider in a very close top 2 in qualifying 1, with Leeson 13th on the grid. But the 3rd consecutive Grand Prix. And just to underline what you saw on screen just before we showed Juan Mir in the HRC Castrol box, Honda looking to try and check the concessions here this afternoon. But of course, with no points scored yesterday in the sprint after their riders took each other out, they need a top 7 finish this afternoon to move up from rank C to, or rank D to C here this afternoon. Not an easy task.
It was all about high fives in the final Grand Prix of 2025 as far as Fabio Gianantonio is concerned. In Q2, he took his career 5th front row in MotoGP and his 5th sprint podium. After this late to move, a real good fight, wasn't it, between Digia and Ralph Fernandez late on. Yeah, no wonder he's got a smile on his face, because he had to force that one, did Antonio. He actually said after the sprint, how well and how impressed he was with Ralph Fernandez's performance on the Trackhouse Racing. Next, fourth place at the checkered flag from Fernandez. He was, of course, on the podium and collecting a trophy on our last Grand Prix in Valencia, wasn't he, Fabio, for Antonio, before the stewards took it off him. Afterwards, there's his bronze medal for the sprint podium yesterday. But over the line on the podium here 2 years ago, before a tyre pressure penalty that saw him punted back to fourth.
It's enough to send warning to his opposition on the front row that Gigi can't be discounted this afternoon. Yes, a lot will depend for him how he gets that bike off the line, which has been a bit hit and miss over the course of the season. As Gigi Dall'Igna next to the reigning World Superbike champion, Toprak Razgatioglu, who will make his public MotoGP testing debut in just 48 hours' time. We will be here throughout the day at the Ricardo Tormo circuit, bringing you full live coverage of that day of testing, where we will see Toprak. Don't know yet what his number will be, but we will see him on board the Yamaha V4 as he begins his MotoGP adventure.
Toprak's just saying to Dall'Igna, come on, tell us a few secrets. How do you do it? How have you built the best motorcycle in Grand Prix racing history? Ducati have the best MotoGP rider at present, don't they? Yamaha about to get the best world superbike rider at present as Razgatioglu moves over in MotoGP. What a mouth-watering prospect that is for all of us in MotoGP in 2026. This was a very, very big talking point in that 13-lap sprint yesterday, wasn't it? The collision at turn 2 involving Jack Miller and Fermin Aldeguer, which carried on long into the evening, Lewis, didn't it?
Yeah, Jack Miller, as you can see there on screen, wasn't exactly in support and agreement with the penalty that was handed out to him. Initially, it was a 3-position drop, which Jack Miller took zero notice of, until then that was upgraded to a long lap penalty, which he realised he probably should serve in case it carried over into today. Jack Miller, as you saw there, describing the penalty, amongst other things, as ridiculous. Certainly can't say that Jack Miller went off the racetrack, stayed on the racetrack. Perhaps questioned the tactics of Aldeguer and the role he played in that collision. That's all behind them though now. They will focus on a Grand Prix, which lies this afternoon, where they start next to each other, 8th and 9th.
Day by day, race by race, that Fermin Aldeguer fan club is a rapidly expanding fan club, isn't it? There's been a lot of support coming the way of the number 54 after he was crowned MotoGP Rookie of the Season. Podium finish, of course, in Le Mans in Austria, then a breakthrough victory in Mandalika, becoming the second youngest rider in Premier Classic history to win in MotoGP.
Bagnaia then gets set to clamber aboard his factory Ducati. Ducati GP25, I don't think it's going to be devastating to see very little more of at the end of this season. Bagnaia has had a miserable second half in particular of 2025, but I'd say the first half was particularly stellar either. Bagnaia goes from 16th place on the grid here this afternoon, side by side with the outgoing 2024 champion Jorge Martin. They are 16th and 17th respectively. Bagnaia, of course, lost any remaining hope of finishing third in the World Championship yesterday afternoon when he failed to score in the sprint. Michael Benzecchi took 5th place. 4th place could still be decided here today. Pedro Acosta is 6 points clear of Pecco Bagnaia. It's fair to say that where they're starting on the grid, Costa will take quite some turn to lose that place to Bagnaia. Costa 5th on the grid, Bagnaia 16th. 6 points is the difference in favour of the KTM ride.
Hottest ticket in town this weekend, a ticket for this season finale in MotoGP. One of the biggest sporting events in Europe, without question, this weekend. One of the biggest sporting events in the world. That's the greatest motorsport show on earth. Reaches its conclusion in 2025. A season which sees Marco Bezzecchi clinch a 3rd place overall for the 2nd time in the last 3 years. 2 different motorcycles and for 2 different teams. It's been a sensational second half of the campaign, hasn't it, as far as Marco Bezzecchi is concerned. He's scoring sprint podium for fun. He's taken victories this year at Silverstone and in Portimao. He will his first ever back-to-back win. Never himself won back-to-back Grand Prix as Marco Bezzecchi. As our final sighting lap then of the season, Metz is here in Valencia. Still plenty more to get through in this final race day of the campaign. Of course, just in the paddock later on this evening, around 6:30 p.m. will be the start of the MotoGP 2025 awards. That can follow across all of our social media platforms. As then, the riders come to the grid. Just see there in the middle of the picture, just moving out the pitch now is Jorge Martin. Absolutely brilliant to see him back for one final play in what has been a dismal and injury-ravaged 2025. Of course, it was this stage last year where Martin fulfilled a lifelong dream. He was crowned MotoGP World Champion 2024. He could not have envisaged, he could not have imagined what was to lie in store in a first season on the factory Aprilia, where there has been comeback after comeback, injury after injury. Martin, though, was on course maybe for a point-scoring finish in the sprint yesterday, just looking for some much-needed confidence.
It is worth just reminding you all at home, it's not really going to change Jorge Martin's life today, because Matt mentioned he's after sleep time, but he does have a double one-lap penalty to serve in this Valencia Grand Prix as a consequence of the last time we saw him racing for this weekend, when he took out his teammate Marco Bezzecchi at the start of the Beamer sprint. So that might actually do Martin a favour, because it will get him into some clear track at the back of the field. He will have 2 long lap penalties to serve today.
Well, those two Hondas will be hoping that they avoid each other in this full distance Grand Prix today. Luca Marini and Joan Mir, a bit of friendly fire at turn 2, which we'll see Mir have to come through the long lap penalty himself. So Marco Bezzecchi then, certainly one to watch if he can carry on this rich vein of form from part 2 of 2025. You do feel that Bezzecchi and a fully fit and healthy Jorge Martin on what will surely be an improved factory Aprilia next season. Will they threaten his recent domination of the GP World Championship? We've not lost the championship, of course, since Fabio Quartararo took the glory for Yamaha back in 2021. Aprilia have emerged as a consistent threat, particularly at times in the second half of the season. And what lies in store for KTM? Well, you have to believe that the first 5 or 6 Grand Prix, maybe even early, the first 2, 3, 4 Grand Prix of 2026, so vital for manufacturers like Yamaha and like KTM, who will be more than well aware that they have 2 top talents on board their motorcycles right now. Pedro Acosta, Fabio Quartararo have made it crystal clear. They've been unequivocal in saying that if they don't get competitive machinery in 2026, they will be looking for new employers 2027 and beyond.
Riders that are more than ready to win motorcycles at the moment, but are not. There is a Fabio Quartararo. The max exodus from the grid continues. Riders seeking some peace and quiet, potentially a comfort break before this Grand Prix gets underway. Let's show you the grid then. Marco Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez, Fabio Di Giannantonio is your front row. As expected, it's hard for a medium rear that is the preferred kick in the full-length Grand Prix. That's what we also see on row 2. It's Raul Fernandez, Pedro Acosta and Fabio Quartararo. Morbidelli, Miller and Aldeguer on row 3. Mir, Zarco and Agura is your 4th row of the grid. Luca Marini lines up 13 for the 3rd Grand Prix in a row, ahead of Aleix Espargaro, wildcarding for Honda, and Brad Binder for KTM. Pecco Bagnaia, his final Grand Prix, which he'll be quite pleased to hear, in 2025, 16th, ahead of Jorge Martin, who has a double long lap penalty. Miguel Oliveira in 18th place. And we can now head down ahead of his final full-time appearance in MotoGP. Miguel Oliveira speaking to Jack.
Yeah, great of Miguel to chat to us onto the grid, which I'm sure is an emotional one. Miguel, right now, ahead of lights out, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. I mean, as good as you can feel about race start, you know, as a normal weekend. It is special to be the last one. Yeah, definitely feels that way now. Didn't felt it the whole weekend, but being sure at the last time, I was quite happy. This morning I woke up and I thought it's actually the last time I'm doing the parade on the truck. But then I thought also the other riders for this season, so I mean it's quite relative. But yeah, able to enjoy the weekend like this. I think the race is gonna be tough with the temperature. We showed a good pace in the warm-up, so hopefully we can find that.
Miguel, it's been great having you in the Grand Prix paddock. I'm sure it won't be the last time we see you line up. Enjoy the last one.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jag. Yeah, the end of an era as far as Miguel Oliveira is concerned. Of course, the end of an era as well for one of his former team bosses who spoke in nothing but glowing terms about his relationship with Miguel just a few days ago when he joined us in the commentary box. Of course, as we say, farewell, full-time at least, to one of our paddock stalwarts, somebody who has contributed so much to the current success of the MotoGP World Championship, as today is the day that Hervé Poncharal, a long-serving team owner and principal of Tech3 with Yamaha and of course most recently for KTM, says goodbye to the MotoGP World Championship, taking over the reins next year. It's an exciting prospect, isn't it? Gunther Steiner will take over Tech3 next season, right on cue. This is going to be very, very emotional as far as Hervé is concerned. He has been in this paddock for well over 40 years. What a servant. What a character he has been. Yeah, we'll kiss you goodbye as well, Hervé. Oh, it's not the final au revoir, but what a character, what a personality. And he has contributed so much, not only as Tech3 team owner for so many years, he was president of IRTA, the International Race Teams Association, for so many years as well. He will be missed, he said on Friday when he joined myself and Lewis in the commentary box. Don't be a stranger, and I don't think he will be.
Anyone who's met him or knows him in this paddock, whether you've known him for 30 years or 30 minutes, you all have a warm story to tell about Hervé Poncharal. It will not be quite the same without him, but it will still be every bit as eventful at Tech3 next season, with Gunther Steiner heading the operation, Richard Coleman, of course, entering as the team manager too. Here coming up for Tech3 and everybody next season, final season of this current iteration of technical regulations. Final Grand Prix of 2025 then comes up ahead of us, with Marco Bezzecchi on pole position, into the trend of what happened yesterday when he was back through the order on that very first lap when his front rider device didn't engage. Trying to even the score with Alex Marquez, just as he did a week ago, of course, when Perez had to watch others celebrating the sprint before he went on to dominate the Sunday Grand Prix.
Yeah, at the end of this Grand Prix, there won't be a dry eye in the house, will they, down at the French-based Tech3 team? As mentioned, it's good to welcome back out of Vinales. I believe, isn't it, that throughout his entire Grand Prix career, Maverick has never missed a race in any class of injured before in his career. He's missed the last 8. Good to see him back in action, though. Nicola Bulliget continues to deputise for the injured Marc Marquez. But today offers the last opportunity, the last dance as far as Pedro Acosta's concerned, in trying to win that first MotoGP race. He was brilliant once again, second in the sprint. We've got the boss, Pit Barrow, who joins Jack.
Yeah, and I'm sure Pitt's absolutely delighted at the fact that this is the last time in 2025. I'm going to ask him the same question. Is today the day?
I hope so, but I also will repeat, if we fight for the podium, I'm happy. That's where we wanted to come back so badly, and we worked really hard for that. The whole factory did, and the team here did, and also Pedro did. So we worked our way up there together, and so yeah, he deserves that win more than anything. How hard he wants it, but like I said, happy for fighting for podium. From this position here, if we have another start like yesterday, I think we have a good chance on anything, but Valencia is not so easy to pass, so let's just get clean through that first corner and make it a really good one for everybody.
Thanks, Mick. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks as always to Pit Barrow. Well, it's the end of an era in terms of Grand Prix racing as far as Somcat Chantra is concerned. Of course, he will partner Jake Dixon in Honda's Factory World Superbike team in 2026, but he leaves with some special memories and some special moments for our Thai fans. The first Thai rider ever to compete in the MotoGP World Championship, and the first Thai rider to score points in the MotoGP World Championship as well. He got that accolade with a 15th place over in Assen. And more good news as far as Thai MotoGP fans are concerned, because on the eve of this final Grand Prix of 2025 here in Valencia, we got the news that we are going to be returning to the Chang International Circuit in Buram till 2031, including at least, obviously a very popular stopover on our Grand Prix calendar. It will be the kick-off for 2026 once again. But yeah, a long-term future secured for the Thai Grand Prix at Buram. Well, let's hope Honda's, the factory Honda's in in the sprint yesterday. Tranmere and Luca really tangling at turn 2. Let's get the thoughts out of this final Grand Prix from the boss, Alberto Fuges with Jack.
Yeah, worst nightmare for a team manager yesterday, Alberto. Has anything been said overnight or this morning to try and keep the guys apart?
Oh, not a nightmare. This is racing. You never know what can happen in the race. So things happen and this can happen, but if it happens with your two riders, it's really bad. But I mean, everybody involved in this all know that these things happen. So I'm what it is. Let's hope that today things go better.
You know, the pace of the factory guys, what do you think their potential is today?
Not easy. I mean, in this track, if you are not in the first two rows, I think you're history. It's impossible because the first 3 corners are super important. But once again, it's a race and you don't know what can happen. I mean, of course, they need a good start and they need to, in the beginning, they have to pull. I mean, we saw the pace of the yesterday race. I think today will be a little slower, but not that much slower. So we'll see.
Thanks, Alberto. Have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks as always once again to Alberto Fuge. As you can see, the riders just getting set for the pre-race grid ceremony. You can just see there as well. It certainly feels like it's some of the coolest conditions we've had of the weekend so far. The wind is seemingly at its strongest. Expecting what you will expect gusts to blast around this Ricardo Tormo circuit here in Valencia. For the riders then, get set for the pre-race grid ceremony and embrace them between very experienced riders, aren't they? Aleix Espargaro and Jack Miller. Well, in excess of 600 Grand Prix, those two must have between the pair of them. Alex Marquez and his Gresini teammate for Aldeguer. A little pre-race chat on Ingebrigtsen was independent team of the season, top independent rider, rookie of the year. Anything that pretty much could have won, they did win. Often the biggest prize of all, that Power of Champions, lifted once again by Marc Marquez at the Mobility Resort in Motegi. Very shortly we'll be starting our traditional national anthem ceremony. The Ferris wheel overlooking turn 8 here in Valencia. A good vantage point wherever you sit around this Ricardo Tormo circuit, this stadium atmosphere. Well, even better view if you've blagged the seat on the Ferris wheel for any part of this 27-lap Grand Prix.
Well, the only seat left unfilled for this Valencia Grand Prix. A sellout crowd in a season where more of you have come through the turnstiles to watch this brilliant sport in person than in any other campaign of this great MotoGP World Championship. We thank all of you, whether you've watched from home or whether you've watched here at the circuit, for making this the incredible show that it is.
9 record crowds, over 3.5 million fans have come to experience the unique atmosphere, the adrenaline rush, the buzz that only MotoGP can give you. We get set then now for the anthem ceremony. 9 record crowds, nearly 3.5 million fans. Title fight between two brothers for the first time ever in Grand Prix history. 6 different winners in a row. Turns to Hungary and to Czechia. The greatest comeback of all, completed by Marc Marquez. That's been the story of the 2025 MotoGP World Championship, which reaches its final chapter here today. It will be the Grand Prix winner in the final showdown. Marco Bezzecchi on pole position for the factory Aprilia team. Previous wins at Silverstone and in Portimao. It's Marquez looking to end a dream season with a dream double. Already the winner of yesterday's sprint over 13 laps. 27 laps set. That's how the best riders in the world will close out 2025. 2026, of course, starts here on Tuesday in Valencia. Not be the start of Marc Marquez's reign, unfortunately. He convalesces over the winter after his season-ending shoulder injury in Mandalika. Crowd. What a pleasure it is to be back here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia. Over 200,000 fans. Thanks to all and every one of you celebrating this season finale with us in Valencia, taking our crowd figure to over 3.6 million in 2025. We thank every single one of you from the bottom of your hearts for being the best fans in the world, enjoying the best motorsport show in the world. Marco Bezzecchi then has clinched already third place in the World Championship. In terms of position-wise, at the top end of this year's World Championship, Pedro Acosta is 6 points clear. Bagnaia in the battle for 4th overall. Circuit winners. 9 on the Ducati in 2023. It was for Suzuki to win their even MotoGP Alex wins absolutely awesome 3 years ago back in 2022. But it's been a record-breaking, it's been a historic 22-round World Championship campaign, the longest in Grand Prix history. Now we're set for the final showdown. It's race number 44. Who is going to take the spoils?
Oh, yes. It's Morbidelli. Yeah, Morbidelli dropped it before he's even got to his grid position. He's due to start from 7th. They might have to delay the start for this if they can't get him off the grid.
Luca Marini, I think, might be considered. Did Marini get tagged? I mean, what's happened here?
He clicks Leish Spargo, isn't he? Yeah, Leish turns around and says, what on earth happened there? They've run into each other on several occasions before, but never on the warm-up lap.
Unbelievable. Absolutely incredible. I mean, there's going to be maybe some potential David on the circuit. He's checking his left hand, isn't he, as well? Frankie Morbidelli. Can you believe it? Travelling before our final Grand Prix of this milestone season. It's lights out, and we are racing minus Morbidelli at the moment in this final showdown here in Valencia. It's another brilliant start from pole position by the Aprilia of Marco Bezzecchi. Let's hope he doesn't go the wrong way on this occasion as he did in the sprint. Gian Antonio drops across the nose of Pedro Acosta, so did you head on a good start there in 2nd place. Jorge Martins wide at the back of the group on the factory Aprilia, but Bezzecchi this time around has got that front hole shot device disengaged, and he leads early on here in Valencia after all of the grid drama.
Miller was launching out the inside there of Twan Mir as we see quite a bit. That's Bagnaia and Zarco, and that really does cap off Pecco Bagnaia's miserable 2025.
I'm not really sure what else we could say to describe what has happened to Pecco Bagnaia in 2025. It didn't exactly start in great fashion, it's finishing in an absolute disaster. He can't believe it. 4 corners into this final Grand Prix, and he's in the gravel, he's in the dust, he's frustrated, he's dejected once again. Pecco Bagnaia cannot wait to see the back of 2025. It has been nothing short of a disaster.
You can't see the back of it now because he's out of the final Grand Prix of the season. So Jorge Martin at the back of the field. He started next to Bagnaia as Bezzecchi clears off at the front of the field. That incident is under investigation. Zarco has dropped back to 16th place as a result of that. Both French riders have suffered on this first lap because Quattararo's out of the top 10.
It was a Trackhouse Racing stuck in that little melee as well. It might have been Ayagura. It was because Ralph Fernandez is there in 4th place. I think Agura might have also been caught up in that tangle. So Bagnaia down and out of the first Grand Prix. Can you believe it? It's his 5th successive Sunday that Bagnaia is not going to finish a Grand Prix. What on earth has happened to the Italian? He won the Japanese Grand Prix Motegi. He has not finished on a Sunday since.
So that's the crew chief of Jorge Martin, Daniele Romagnoli, explaining the strategy of the double long lap penalty. Laps 2 and 3 is the plan for Jorge Martin, who's already down in 21st place anyway. Top 2 streaking clear. Bezzecchi from Alex Marquez, and this is not the start that Pedro Acosta wanted nor needed. Still stuck in 5th.
First time in Bagnaia's career he's had 5 successive DNFs. First time he's going 5 races in a row without a point since 2014 in Moto3. Can't ever recall a rider who's had 5 successive DNFs in recent history. Well, Frankie Morbidelli's farewell in 2025 was pretty much over before it even started.
Zarco has a long lap penalty. We haven't seen the replay of that, but clearly the stewards have, and they deem Zarco responsible. So now 2 of the 4 Hondas in the field, or the 5 Hondas, have got long laps.
Saw Zarco out wide on the exit of turn 2, and he obviously was trying to recover a bit of lost ground, just a little bit too aggressive going into turn 3 and 4, and that has cost Zarco a trip through the long lap penalty. Okay then, so Morbidelli's had a shocker, flipping Aleix Espargaro's factory Honda as he came to the grid and toppling over. Jack, Frankie's back in the what's happening?
Yeah, the bike was ready for him to swap, but Morbidelli walked straight to the back of the box to speak to his crew chief Matteo Flamini, and he instantly went down to that right hand, has taken the glove off. You can see him exiting out the back of the box. There's clearly some kind of injury to that right hand after the contact.
Just a complete lack of concentration, wasn't it, by Morbidelli coming to the grid. I mean, the last person that Frankie needs to be having any kind of instant win was Aleix Espargaro. Those two have got previous. Poor old Pecco Bagnaia. You can see Zarco on the outside of 3. He's going to dive from Quartararo. I mean, that is a long lap penalty. No wonder the stewards have been quick to react to the Zarco dive. I mean, it was Agura that also had to sort of take evasive action. I mean, he's properly cleaned out Pecco there, hasn't he?
Held up Quartararo too. Look top left of your screens though. Now we can see it full screen. Raul Fernandez has passed Fabio Di Giannantonio on this lap, up into 3rd place now. I think he took him into turn 6, so we've now got Aprilia 1st and 3rd already. This group are already a 2.5 near enough off the race lead.
So that Morbidelli's not put himself out of the all-important Tuesday test with that calamitous pre-race incident with him and Aleix Espargaro. He would have been due to ride the GP25 here on Tuesday and start his prep work for 2026, but bizarre and embarrassing departure for the Italian. Jorge Martin has completed one of his 2 long laps in this Grand Prix. At the front then, Bezzecchi leading the way. Raul Fernandez on the 2nd of the top 3 Aprilias at the moment has just set the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. Having got to under Giannantonio, he's already putting daylight between himself and the Italian. Raul with a 1:30.023. He's already started to charge back towards Bezzecchi and Marquez ahead of him.
Behind this group of 5, we have Fabio Navigera running 6th, ahead of Joan Mir, who's in the 7th place that Honda need to move up the concessions band, but of course he's still to serve his long lap penalty. Miller then 8th, ahead of Marini, Binder and Bastianini, with Quartararo not helped by what happened on that first lap, now in 12th.
Really busy by Fernandez. Seizes that inside line going into turn 6. That's where he lost the podium to Giannantonio in the sprint yesterday. That's a little bit of payback there as far as Raul Fernandez is concerned. Martin, just for reference, has just completed now both of his long laps for his sprint. That's the with Bezzecchi over in Japan. On board then now with Acosta. Going through the right-hander at turn 10, and now he's going to seize that inside line under Giannantonio. Giannantonio reversing the wrong way, isn't he, early on in this Grand Prix. Acosta now picks him off to 4th.
If Pedro Acosta had any hopes of winning this Grand Prix, he had to make that move because the top 3 were already starting to move clear. Joan Mir has now served his long lap penalty, so that promotes Miller up to 7th, and Luca Marini now runs 8th. Clear, of course, of the teammate who ran into him yesterday.
So Bezzecchi getting the message loud and clear. It is plus 0.03 to Alex Marquez. That's now back-to-back fastest laps in this Grand Prix for the brilliant Raul Fernandez. He's the first rider actually to hit a 129. 129.976. Well, he won the Australian Grand Prix. That was one of the big surprise results, wasn't it, of 2025. At the moment, Raul Fernandez, quickest rider on circuit, and galloping towards Bezzecchi and Marquez ahead of him.
Fight coming up two of the British Grand Prix, bookended by Aprilia's, two Aprilia riders who have, of course, won Grand Prix in the not too distant past. Bezzecchi winning last weekend in Portimao. 2 races prior to that, Ralph Fernandez won the Australian Grand Prix, and Alex Marquez on the silver Cassini Ducati, currently sitting in the silver medal position.
Zarco's completed his long lap. I only think the staunchest of Zarco fans, and even Johan himself, will be able to say that that was not a fully justified trip to the long lap penalty loop after he ended Pecco Bagnaglia's hopes of rescuing anything from this final Grand Prix of his bitterly disappointing 2025 campaign. The rider to watch though in this Grand Prix is clearly the number 25 in the hands of Ralph Fernandez. Fourth he was in the sprint yesterday, less than a second behind Del Antonio off the podium. Here he is. He's been successive fastest laps in this race. The only rider that's found a lap in the 129s. Bezzecchi. Marquez dropped down through turn 14. They'll now start going through those seamless shift gearbox up from second, briefly into sixth. The only part of this Valencia circuit where you are in top gear, not for very long, as we saw there clearly on the onboard of Alex Marquez.
Not a fastest lap that time around, but once again Fernandez was the fastest of the leading three. 3 consecutive laps, we've been able to say that. Pedro Acosta was around a 10 slower than Bez and Alex Marquez, 2 tenths slower than Ralph Fernandez. He's around 2 seconds off the race lead. Acosta's going to try and stay in this and hope that, much like Portimao last weekend, he's strong at the end of the Grand Prix.
Benign boy Martin, of course, is right at the back of this pack, given the fact he's had 2 long laps to serve. I'm just looking at his pace. He's just done his personal best lap of the race, a 1:30.923, which is pretty respectable pace. I mean, if he didn't have the long laps, I mean, you'd think that Martin would be sort of hovering around that top 10, just as he was yesterday in the sprint when he made a mistake right here, behind Zarco going into turn 8.
Malaysia Spargo had a problem on that lap. He was already had problems before the Grand Prix got underway. He lost 4 places on that lap, did a 33.0. Pecco Bagnaia trudges towards his Ducati box. Mentioned earlier on, Pecco, just take the good news. Your miserable season is at least now over.
If you offer him a chance to just fly home now, not bothered about the Tuesday test, he'd say, get me a ticket. Where do I sign up? Heart goes out to a rider who was a world champion in 2022 and 2023. Of course, some of the best days of his career have been right here in Valencia when he was crowned world champion at this Riccardo Tormo circuit. Times have changed. Times are different, aren't they, right now, as far as the Italian is concerned. Another Italian is doing a stellar job at the front of this Grand Prix. Second leads it by just over 4/10 of a second from Alex. First time in about 2 or 3 laps now that Bezzecchi and Alex Marquez have been slightly faster than Fernandez in 3rd place. Mid-30s once again fighting by Acosta, picking up some rhythm further down the order in that top 10 of both Miller and Marini. Those both just set their personal best laps of the Grand Prix. Yellow flags are out by Agura. Well, Agura had to take a boarding action on lap 1 with Zarco's early aggression. Unfortunately, his rookie season in MotoGP ends with a rather disconsolate trudge through the gravel track.
One crashes and not slow, as you're seeing there. Seeing how the bike careered towards the fence. Agura has shown some flashes of real promise in his rookie season, but he has also had some high-speed get-offs. Silverstone and Mazzano spring to mind. Now add Valencia to that.
Is there any words right now that can console Pecco Bagnaia? Is there anything that they can say to him that's going to kick his jaw to the floor? It's a good get off that for Agura. It is a lot windier here today in Valencia. I don't know whether that might have been a contributing factor. Higher temperature generating and then keeping it is going to be crucial. We saw here a couple of years ago, back in 2023, as the temperature started to drop in the mid-afternoon phase. It really did prove decisive as both Jack Miller and Brad Binder on KTM lost the lead when they made mistakes going through one of the few right-handers here at turn 10. No problems, no dramas so far for Bezzecchi. Still well and truly on course to be Aprilia's first ever back-to-back winner. Now look at this.
I mean, Aleix Spargo doesn't stop him, but he's in his grid box, so I don't think there's anything wrong with what Aleix Spargo did there. Frankie Morbidelli just not concentrating.
Not at all. I mean, Aleix, he was, as we all were, completely baffled and bemused. Look at the damage there. That was from the contact to Morbidelli's side of his bike, and it's the left hand just causing the problem. There's damage here, isn't there, as well? So Aleix Spargo's factory Honda, is it? Yeah, look, that bit just got flipped off, some bodywork. Obviously something was rubbing on the hot exhaust there or something. Aleix Spargo, despite that drama, is still on circuit. He's actually in the point of scoring place. He's doing actually a pretty rapid pace. is elation on that experimental RC213V. He's just on a 130.633, which was only 2 tenths lower than Bezzecchi on that last lap. So whatever damage there was to that test rider Honda machine, it's not costing Aleix Espargaro too much time on track.
It's not like we're quite looking how it did when they built it, but it's still going fast enough for Aleix Espargaro at the moment to score a World Championship point, and he's very quickly closing up to the back of a train, which is actually all the way up into the top 10. Next ahead of him is Vinales, who's doing high 31. It's going to be a real test of his physical reserves for Maverick, his first following Grand Prix for quite some time. Then ahead of him is Mir, who's now up into 13th. Oliveira 12th in his final Grand Prix as a full-timer. And Quartararo 11th before we get into the top 10 with Enea Bastianini. The leading Honda is still Luca Marini in 8th place. He can pass and stay ahead of Jack Miller, who's just up ahead of him. And Honda will jump up a band of concessions from D to C.
So on board with Marquez, the left-hander. Second at the moment, he's looking rock solid up in this Grand Prix. We're going through 5 now. And just continue to keep this pressure. Felt that he was going to be right in the game for the Grand Prix win here today. To his word, he's just not been able to sort of get any close to striking distance on Bezzecchi. But Bez is keeping it sort of around 3-4 tenths of a second. There might be additional problems for Alex to contend with, because he can't in turn shake off Fernandez directly behind him. It's a runaway top 3 this. They're long gone.
Costa's got problems here. Gian Antonio has now climbed right onto the back of him. Gian Antonio suddenly now has got half-decent pace on a 130.7. Acosta's going to be in the 31 shortly, and any hope of a victory looks long gone. Any hopes of a 4th place is now starting to come under threat, with Ditcher closing in.
Endurance, tyre durability have been the major headache, the major complaint for Acosta, particularly over the last few Grand Prix, even though he's been able to brilliantly ride around some of the glaring issues that are still at RC16. In the pre-event press conference on Thursday, if you had one wish, there's one thing that you could have more of when you line up on the 2026 grid for the first time in Burram, what would it be? He just said, grit. That is what we're missing. Further back down the order, then ahead his farewell appearance in MotoGP is Yamaha's Miguel Oliveira. Pretty good ride as well, because the Portuguese rider, he's just got Mir behind him. Oliveira at the moment on the road is in 12th place. Quartararo once again has gone the wrong way in the Grand Prix. He could mask some of those deficiencies, can't he, on the factory Yamaha on a time attack on a soft tyre. Qualifies normally so well, doesn't know how many occasions has Fabio Quartararo offered precious little on Sundays. They need more grip, and they certainly need more power, don't they, from that V4 next year, Yamaha.
Yeah, which they have confirmed. If you're just joining us, pre-Grand Prix, they did confirm that our V4, as we all expected, will race across all of their teams next season, both the factory squad and the Pramac squad, which welcomes Toprak Razgatioglu on board next season. Marco Bezzecchi starting to stretch this out. On that last lap, he pulled out 4/10 over Alex Marquez. He's still doing low to mid 130s. There are only now a couple of rides behind him, 30s. Acosta is now in the 131s with that big queue building up behind him, but is Bez making a decisive jump here?
Well, last weekend in Portimao, from pole position, the dream start, and he didn't have to see anybody else's rear tyre at the Algarve International Circuit. So has been the case once again here today in Valencia. Marquez clearly at the moment has not got the pace to go with Bezzecchi, and behind him 2 tenths quicker on that last lap. That was Fernandez, 3 abreast almost, going Miller, Marini and Aldeguer. Marini working his way through on Aldeguer, so he's now up into 7th place. Aldeguer though has tried to tough it out with Miller at turn 2 yesterday, dives back on the inside of the Italian going into 2.
Yeah, Miller briefly putting a fight between himself and Fermin Aldeguer. That lasted for all of about 2 corners before Aldeguer also got past Luca Marini. So now they're 6th and 7th, 43 and 54. Marini now the leading Honda in 8th. Joan Mir, he's now past Miguel Oliveira. He's up into 12th place and doing 30.6s, which is only a 10th of a second slower than Bezzecchi's going. They've not necessarily showed it at all times this weekend, but in race trip, these Hondas are pretty quick.
Excellent ride this by Jack Miller. He said he likes this sort of go-kart compactness of the Valencia circuit. We've already got to scratch around for a lap time. Of course, for his first top 10 in Grand Prix. Last time Miller was inside the top 10 was as far back as our Grand Prix of Czechia in Brno. Well, those two have got very recent previous, haven't they, together, Miller and Aldeguer. They're brushing each other once again, aren't there? There was a bit of an elbow out. Ralph Fernandez, this has been coming. This has been coming as Alex Marquez fades out of victory contention here. We're going to get that rear tyre hooked up on the exit of 14, and Ralph Fernandez then. Justin Marks, Trackhouse boss pre-race, said they expected Raul to be in the fight for the podium. Well, that assessment was bang on the mark, wasn't it, as far as Trackhouse are concerned? Ralph Fernandez now up into second. The problem is, have he let Bezzecchi get too far up the road in terms of the victory?
To the brilliant 1-2 now in this final Grand Prix of 2025. Boy, have they ended this season in strong fashion with victories already. Phillip Island with Ralph Fernandez, and in Portimao with Marco Bezzecchi. Best also won his fair share of sprints in that time. Ralph Fernandez comfortably up the inside of Alex Marquez, who had absolutely no answer to that. He is now doing 131s, and he's now locked in, I think, for a rather lonely third place.
I see clean move that by Ralph Fernandez. I think Alex had sensed that he was there. He'd sensed that Fernandez was probably going to be a little bit quicker down the hill, so he made sure that he gave his fellow Spaniard plenty of room. Didn't want to yield the position, of course, but he didn't want to instigate any contact as well. We've had enough of that already so far this weekend. We saw some contact even before it was lights out for this final Grand Prix between Morbidelli and Aleix Espargaro. Jim Antonio, well, hasn't really taken any advantage from that front row start. I mean, he was third in the very early parts of this Valencia Grand Prix, but Antonio just has not had the pace, not had the rhythm, has he, at all? He's at fifth at the moment. He could get one place better as he starts to close back in on Acosta, but I think we expected Digit to figure a little bit more in that top three battle.
And what's weird about this as well is Acosta's suddenly now doing the fastest times. He's the fastest rider on track now, outside of Fernandez, who's just at a 30.519. By Acosta, who did a 30.5 of his own. He's now going half a second lap quicker than Alex Marquez in third place. So I said a moment ago, Alex locked in for a lonely third. Might not be lonely for much longer, with Acosta taking half a second a lap, and he's dragging Di Gianantonio along with him.
Antonio came on strong late on in the sprint yesterday, kicking off Ralph Fernandez late on to deny what looks like maybe a double podium here as far as Trackhouse are concerned. Yeah, look at this, Alex just hasn't got not the rhythm, has he, at all? And he's still got half of this Valencian Grand Prix remaining, so this could be a rather tough ending to what's been a phenomenal 2025 for Alex. I think many people thought, given how strong he was in yesterday's sprint, he was perhaps a marginal pre-Grand Prix favourite over Marco Bezzecchi, but that's not how it's panning out at all, is it? Miller still there in sixth place, on course for just his second top six finish of the season here, the Aussie. And the previous one was right at the beginning of the season. He took the checker flag at round 3 in Austin.
There are two gaps closing here. Ralph Fernandez is chipping away at this advantage of Bez. He's got it back down to 1.1, having lost the 10th in the first sector. But this gap between Alex Marquez and Pedro Costa was 2.1 seconds when this lap began. You can see on the left-hand column of your screen that it's already down to 1.7. So at the moment, Alex Marquez has got no answer to the KTM that's closing him down.
To further back down the order, it's Quartararo who we are looking ahead to Enea Bastianini's KTM and Joan Mir's Honda. Giving a send-off to Tech 3 boss Hervé Poncharal with a potential top 10 at the moment. Quartararo now has plummeted back down to 12th place. We on board with the Frenchman breaking hard into this tight left-hander. This is turn 2. We'll stay left then now going through 3. Into 4 then now is where Zarco went a little bit banzai on Bagnaia on the first lap. Zarco, after his early long lap, is in 17th place.
Well, Bastianini on top on the last lap, he did a 32.0, which was a second slower than Mir behind him, which is why the 36 is now all over the 23. This is for a place in the top 10. Whether Mir can make any further progress from there remains to be seen, because it's a 2-second gap on the road to 9th place Brad Binder.
Boy, Martin, as he said he would do, this is not about headline grabbing results. This is not about just outright pace and thinking about where he might finish. It's just about finishing and getting some seat time on that factory Aprilia. He's doing a low one of the 31s at the moment. That's still down in 21st place. That's only 6/10 of a second there behind Augusto Fernandez on the new YZR M1 V4 powered Yamaha. And we go into turn 14. Centre, there's a top 10 in the offing here. find their way through on Bastianini back at the front. Raul Fernandez has taken a little bit more time out of that second. Between the two Aprilias, first and second in this Grand Prix, is just 3 thousandths of a second over a full second.
Alex Marquez still can't get himself back into the 130s. He's still in the 131s, 31-0 for him last time around. Outside of Jack Miller, Alex Marquez is the only rider in the top 8 in this race doing 31s, which will concern Grassini at this stage of the race. Has he got any answer to Pedro Acosta, who can still potentially salvage a podium out of this final Grand Prix of the season, even if his wait for a win will go on?
Shows sort of strength of the pace and potential that Mir had in this Grand Prix. He's in this battle for the top 10 despite having served a long lap penalty, which would have cost him a thick end of 2.5, 3 seconds. So he would have been probably up the road in that Miller-Aldeguer-Marini battle with Binder as well, had he not had to do the long lap. And you know, after the long lap he got yesterday for cleaning out Marini in the sprint, he's going to have to be pretty cautious. He's going to be a little bit more conservative when he's making moves.
Timing lost in the long lap will be added to timing the loss in traffic afterwards. Martin slowing down, he's got his left hand up, whether that's just a wave at the fans, whether he's decided physically, I've had quite enough for one day and I'm going to pull in. Jorge Martin, who did do a 32.6 on the last lap, has he decided physically enough is enough for one day?
Back of his mind, surely he has to be thinking about that full day of testing here on Tuesday, where he'll be, we believe, on what will be an early prototype of the 2026 GP, maybe just conserving a bit of energy. He has had such little seat time, such little track time, hasn't he, in 2025 so far, Jorge Martin. It's understandable why he's just thinking, it's not really gaining much here, let's just make sure that we are as fit and healthy as we possibly can be as we head into Tuesday's test. Acosta, game on for this final place, not only in this final Grand Prix. Acosta is really starting to charge back towards Marquez. The gap between the two Spaniards over the line has dropped down to under a second. Acosta comfortably clear now of the Gian Antonio.
Martin has entered the pits, so the 2024 World Champion is now out of this Grand Prix. He did at least, though, get to end his season in front of his home fans, which is something he dearly wanted to do. The Jorge Martin retires from the Grand Prix, receives a round of applause from his team. Much more to come from Jorge Martin in 2026. You can bet on that.
13 laps he completed in the sprint yesterday. He's done 14 completed laps in the Grand Prix. 15. Yeah, I think a battered and bruised body. He really has had a physical and mental torture at times this year, hasn't he, Jorge Martin? So yeah, I think he just stuck it out for as long as he could. It was always going to be just a case of gaining some confidence, some experience with the 2 long laps. And it has to be a factor. It just has to be. I just need to save energy. I'm sure he's really tired. He's really fatigued. He came into this Valencian Grand Prix fresh off the collarbone injury in Japan. The first time Martin had been back on 2 wheels since turn 1 in that Motegi sprint was when he jumped on his scooter here in the Valencia paddock. It's very understandable that maybe just the physical toll is really starting to take its toll once again on Martin.
The 2 fastest riders on track at the moment are the riders in 2nd and 4th. But Teki has responded a little bit to Raul Fernandez. He's matched him on a 30.7 on the last lap. The gap between the two is 0.7 of a second. But Alex Marquez has had no response to the relentless onslaught from Pedro Acosta. Catching the 73 is one thing, but can Pedro Acosta now pass it?
Sitting up though, doesn't he, right now? It's 73. Acosta closes in once again. Acosta was saying here, going into turn 8, he was having a lot of fun locking in the sprint yesterday. That's why he had to give up the ghost in terms of trying to chase down Alex in terms of the sprint victory. This time around, Acosta find a way through on Alex Marquez and snatch the final place on the podium here at the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia. Yeah, well, this is just a matter of time, this, isn't it? Marquez just does not have any kind of rhythm. He just does not have any kind of pace. So it might even be coming now. Acosta's going to seize that inside line. They'll drop down the hill. Alex is just that little bit late from the brakes, runs that tighter defensive inside line, but now in the slipstream on the fastest motorcycling Grand Prix history. Can Acosta get that rear tyre hooked to be enough to maybe attack Alex on the brakes into turn 1? Once again, Alex goes defensive. He's almost in the middle of the circuit there, isn't he? As Alex tries to fend off Acosta.
So we'll get a run on it through turn 1, and turn 2 will be his next opportunity. It's going to be a big lunge from there, not close enough by Alex Marquez. We saw when he passed to Gian Antonio that Acosta favoured the lunge into turn 11. Is that his next opportunity to potentially move himself back into the podium position?
say once again, it's a cracking ride. Epic performance by Fernandez in second place. Let's not forget he wasn't even participating in the Grand Prix in Portimao last weekend. He was doubtful even whether he'd be able to compete this weekend in Valencia. He had that horrible practice crash in Portimao. He suffered an upper arm injury, really did bash himself about, but here he is fighting for the victory here today.
Information has just come through, by the way, from Aprilia. They say Aprilia has decided to withdraw Jorge Martin from the race as a precaution. So whether it was a team instruction to Jorge Martin to save him from himself to pull in, but either way, precautionary measure for Martin to withdraw from the race.
They need it as strong as he possibly can be for the Tuesday test. Somehow, Alex Marquez is defending like we know Pedro Acosta's capable of defending, isn't he, on that Gresini Ducati? He's so good at repelling attacks so often, hasn't he, this season, Acosta? He's now trying to mount an attack on Alex Marquez. This would complete an excellent ending to 2025 for Acosta. 4 successive sprint podiums on course for 3 successive Grand Prix podiums here. Once again occupying the middle of the track is Alex Marquez. Once again Acosta, this time around not close enough to make the move on the inside at turn 1.
But we don't forget, he's back ahead of Jack Miller. Then battle, which has gone all weekend, continues to go on for 6th and 7th. It's back in the hands of the 54 once again. Marini still right behind them, but unable to pass either at the moment. First of the Honda, still in 8th.
Not quite sure really how Alex Marquez at the moment is in Acosta. Well, the reason is because it's so hard to make clean passes around this tight Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia. Through 6 we go. And at the moment, Antonio maybe back into this little battle. So it may well be soon a 3-rider fight for 3rd place in this Grand Prix. As Costa is getting just a little bit impatient here, he may be just getting sucked into the slipstream of Alex through the King of 7. He had to be really careful there, because you could see the dust he was kicking way offline going through 8. If he had just tapped the power back in that a little bit too early, could have easily gone down the road there, Acosta. He said he had a lot of fun locking going into that turn 8 yesterday, didn't he, in the sprint? Maybe that's what cost him a bit of precious time there, losing time to Alex and also lighting up the eyes once again of Vigia.
We're going to have a 3-way battle. So look how quickly he's just jumped on the back of Alex Marquez's rear tyre once again. Clearly, he is a lot faster than the 73 if he can just find a way past, because the 2 Aprilias at the front are doing 130s, but Alex Marquez now doing a 31.2 in 3rd place. He's a half a second lap slower than the race leader at 30.7 for Gian Antonio. Half second lap, he'll be right on top of these 2 at the end of this lap.
This is turning into a pretty dramatic ending for the final place on the podium, isn't it? Look at Gian Antonio just on the ground. He makes up on the brakes going into turn 2. So Acosta then, he's going to try and go for the inside line here, through on the inside of Alex Marquez. He goes, Alex, you know, he's going to try and fight immediately back. Acosta goes super defensive as they run into turn 5. So once again, Pedro Acosta finds himself putting that KTM. How on earth did he keep on doing it? Or a giant killing coming here from Acosta on what is a KTM at the moment that's nowhere near on par with the 2 Ducatis behind him, but somehow Acosta's making it work once again.
Acosta needs to do a runner now, because his opportunity, while Didier is stuck up behind Alex Marquez, is to just bolt and try and pull clear and safeguard that 3rd place. He's 3.5 seconds off the leading pair, so he's not going to chase down the Aprilias from there unless something spectacular goes wrong off the road. But another podium looks like it is now in the hands of the 37.
This was not in the script at all, was it, for Marquez? We really did figure that he would be right in the thick of the battle with Marco Bezzecchi at the front. Just a quick check on the gap between Bezzecchi and Fernandez. It's still around 3/4 of a second. There's more pain coming away here for Alex as well, because Gian Antonio now is clambering all over the back of that Gresini Ducati. A bit of a dot in the background there is Fermin Aldeguer in 6th place, looking to close out his brilliant rookie campaign with a top 6. Aldeguer's over the line 1.2 seconds clear of Miller, who might well be coming under attack very quickly of Luca Marini.
Staring at the moment as well is the end of Ducati's podium streak. At the moment, it's Aprilia, KTM, your top 3. Ducati's only hope for a podium might well be Didier, and he comes through on Alex Marquez, who has to check up to avoid running into Fabio Gian Antonio. That move was also coming, and Didier now takes 4.
Well, as strong as he was yesterday in that sprint, Alex, I mean, this has been one of his sort of forward Grand Prix of the campaign. They've been few and far between as he's completed that 1-2 for the Marquez. But Alex had a look over his right shoulder there, didn't he, just to see, well, is there any more trouble coming from behind? I think he can relax, because he's well clear of his teammate Fermin Aldeguer. Ralph Fernandez, well, he keeps pushing and trying to close this gap on Marco Bezzecchi, but Bezzecchi just couldn't stabilise, only it's still around 7 or 8 tenths of a second. He just cannot get it down to under 7 tenths. Fernandez, he's trying everything, but Bezzecchi just faultless and flawless at the front of this Grand Prix.
To go back to the 2021 British Grand Prix, the last MotoGP Grand Prix, didn't have a Ducati rider standing on the podium. That is currently what we're on the verge of seeing in the final race of 2025. 6 laps for somebody on a Bologna bullet to try and change that. The only hope really of changing that is Fabio Di Gianantonio, who did a 31-1, matched Pedro Acosta for pace last time round. That was even while he was overtaking Alex Marquez.
Really has got through. That has been coming as well. I think he's been closing down on the Australian. So Luca Marini then now moves the factory Honda up into 7th place.
That's what they need, of course, this afternoon if they're going to move up the concessions ladder and potentially give Luca Marini some extra days off next season. Because if they do move on, then the race riders can't do any testing in between Grand Prix. It'll all be left to Aleix Spargaro, Taka Nakagami and company from the test team. But Honda clearly saying some very positive things about their 2026 bike as they continue to close the gap on the leaders.
A bit more time at home with his family. That's the perfect carrot being tangled right now in front of Luca Marini. Of course, Honda were hoping that they would move up into Band C because it would reflect on their massive progress made throughout 2025. Aleix Spargaro and Luca Marini have talked about the difference between the current spec Honda compared to this time last year. They both said night and day different. Exciting to see what Honda are going to roll out in 2026. We'll see Marini and Mir on the new prototype here on Tuesday. Well, he was your Grand Prix leader for every lap 7 days ago in Portimao. He's been your Grand Prix leader for every lap so far here in Valencia. That has come down ever so slightly between Bezzecchi and Fernandez. It has. Not by much, but it just looked visibly like Fernandez had taken a bit of time back. Bezzecchi's back in the 31s. That must be the first 131 we've seen in this Grand Prix so far from the Italian. And that means he's just over 6 tenths clear now of Fernandez.
Getting 2023 flashbacks here now because Di Gianantonio is miles faster than anyone else on the racetrack now. He's cleared Alex Marquez. He just did a 1:30.622. Immediately chopped 3 tenths out of the advantage that Pedro Acosta had ahead of him. And this battle for third is very much on.
Worked so hard to get himself into this P3. He's now got it all on. Well, we know he's probably the best defensive rider in MotoGP right now. Well, he's going to have to really make that KTM as wide as this Ricardo Tormo circuit once again, isn't he, if he is to fend off this late charge from the Gianantonio. Gianantonio said yesterday it took him so long to find a way through a Ralph Fernandez. Twofold. Fernandez was riding brilliantly, and it's so hard to make a clean pass here around this just over 4 points at Valencia circuit. When will he feel like maybe it's his moment to pick off Acosta late on if he can? Just checking on the gap between Bezzecchi and Fernandez. It's still just over 6 tenths of a second. There's still plenty of life left in this final showdown of the year.
Ralph Fernandez just trying to keep that pressure on and see if Marco Bezzecchi will blink in the latter stages. Of course, no real pressure on Bezzecchi's shoulders from a championship point of view. He clinched 3rd place in the championship yesterday with his 5th place in the sprint. Pedro Acosta here, defending the final podium position, has already secured 4th place in the championship, of course, with Bagnaia out on lap 1.
Bagnaia not even getting a chance to fight anywhere near the podium in this final Grand Prix. That's what happens when you qualify deep down in 16th place on the grid. So easy to get caught up in some first lap drama. Right here into turn 4 where he was the victim of some over-aggression, I think it's fair to say, as far as Johan Zarco is concerned. Alex Marquez, he's in a bit of trouble here, Alex. He might actually lose 5th place here because Aldeguer on the last lap, his Gresini teammate, was 4 tenths faster. I just saw that at the back of the screen. Aldeguer is really starting to make big inroads here into Alex.
Our other returning from injury has now also pitted. Maverick Vinales, who I did spot drop a lot of places on the previous lap. He has also now pulled in with 4 laps to go. Whether that's mechanical or physical, we'll have to wait and see, but Vinales is out.
Hervé Poncharao's final MotoGP Race. Fabio Quartararo's crashed out late on here. Quartararo was in 11th place. He's gone down at turn 6. Oh dear. Well, Fabio Quartararo, we know how hard he's pushing because he doesn't tend to throw that Yamaha to the scenery very often, does he, Fabio? That's going to be his first Grand Prix DNF since Aragon.
Turn 6 catching the Frenchman out. 3 laps to go then as they now come across the line. Marco Bezzecchi just now across the line, and his advantage cut to just 0.4 of a second. Just how much is Raul Fernandez prepared to risk? He might as well risk it all really at this stage to take victory, but of course Aprilia will want to see 2 of their riders come together with a 1-2 just a couple of laps away.
Brilliant. Raul Fernandez in this Grand Prix has been everything as good as he was in Philip Island when he won the race, to keep this pressure on Marco Bezzecchi, who really has grown in stature, hasn't he, in the second half of this season. Raul Fernandez, it started once again in painful fashion. Once again he got an injury in the opening test at Sepang, put himself on the back foot for the opening Grand Prix. He's carrying an injury here this weekend. I mean, at the moment it's just pure adrenaline that's keeping Fernandez in this battle for the win. It's pure skill and talent at the moment is keeping Acosta on this podium. Gian Antonio, he will know, he's been close enough now to Acosta to just see, work out the master plan. Where's Acosta strong? Where's Acosta weak? Where can I maybe try and wrestle this third place away from the Spaniard? He's got time, doesn't need to rush it, doesn't need to hurry here, does he? 2.5 laps remaining.
Acosta is still setting a pretty fast pace, which is why it's not been an easy overtake for Gian Antonio, in the same way that it was when he caught Alex Marquez. The top 4 all doing 1:30s, 1:30.8 for second, third and fourth. Bez a 30.9. Sort of pace should just about be enough for Bezzecchi to hold up Raul Fernandez. Likewise, should be enough for Pedro Acosta to hold up Gian Antonio, as long as he doesn't make mistakes like that. Into the final corner. Gian Antonio now with a run at it.
Lovely push to keep the Gian Antonio behind him. Surely that would have cost Acosta a bit of exit speed on the run down to the first corner, but he's so good, so late on the brakes into one. There's nothing that Gian Antonio can do at this stage. You can just see the top 2 there going through turn 2 in the left-hand corner of your picture. The advantage between Bezzecchi and Fernandez. Hang down again, not by much, but Bez once again straying briefly back into those 1:31s. And here comes the Gian Antonio. Here comes the move. Into turn 4 we go. Acosta tries to lean on the Italian. No way back through into turn 5. Gian Antonio then trying to keep a Ducati on the podium for the 88th Grand Prix in a row.
Pedro Acosta trying to stop that from happening. Has the moment gone though, once he was clear through into 6. Where is Acosta really going to be able to fight back from here? We've got battles then, first and second, top left of your screens. Bezzecchi versus Raul Fernandez, lap and a half remaining. Gian Antonio versus Acosta for third and fourth. Alex Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer are now right together for 5th and 6th.
Ligia will feel like this Valencia circuit owes him one, because he was on the podium here 2 years ago, back in 2023. He was even in the post-race press conference talking about his podium, which helped save his Grand Prix career. Ultimately, though, it was taken away from him for a tyre pressure infringement. This time around, making sure that there is no post-race drama. It's going to be hard, though, isn't it, to shake off Acosta, who really will want to end at what's been a real sort of rollercoaster 2025 second season in MotoGP for the Spaniard. The final lap then of our historic, longest ever MotoGP World Championship campaign is underway. Marco Bezzecchi leads in the factory of Prix. We're on course for a Prix 1-2 here. Just under 3.5 of a second splitting Bezzecchi and Fernandez. But Gian Antonio being egged on by team boss Pablo Nieto is on the final place on the podium as it stands. Will he be able to hold off Acosta?
At Aprilia, but they're about to celebrate their first 1-2 for a couple of years since Barcelona 2023. A little bit of resignation there from Davide Brivio. It's going to take an error from Bezzecchi from here to allow Raul Fernandez to sneak through.
These two have ridden brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly, haven't they? Neither of them have made a mistake. Absolutely phenomenal performance. Another masterclass in leading and managing the pace at the front for Marco Bezzecchi. What an ending to the season he's having on the factory. Aprilia never had back-to-back victories in MotoGP. That record's about to be ended by Bezzecchi, who's on course himself for his first back-to-back wins. Surely he's going to hold off Fernandez.
Looks like Gian Antonio has third place covered. Acosta has settled for fourth place, but Marco Bezzecchi on course at the moment. He's 2 corners away now from his first double.
Down the hill we go then into the final corner. Just 1 corner left in 2025. Marco Bezzecchi, a twitch on the front end of the factory of Aprilia. The Valencian Grand Prix started with a 27th birthday cake for Marco Bezzecchi. It finishes with the icing on the cake in 2025 as Bez wins the final Grand Prix of the season. The fireworks erupt in the background. Raul Fernandez completes a brilliant Aprilia 1-2. A stunning end to 2025 for the Trackhouse talent. Fabio Di Gian Antonio, well, He should be getting a pay rise right now. And a big bonus from Ducati as he does make sure Ducati are represented in Parc Ferme once again in 2025. Pedro Acosta, well, once again he fought such a great fight for. Aldeguer did get Alex Marquez late on. We suspected that was going to happen. Alex Marquez not at the race. He was 8.1 seconds behind Bezzecchi, the checkered flag. A checkered flag waved by 3 times MotoGP World Champion and Hall of Famer Jorge Lorenzo. Lorenzo himself would have been proud by that metronomic pace, that masterclass in leading from the front, just as he did so often in his career. That time produced by Marco Bezzecchi, who ends the season with back-to-back victories, back-to-back start-to-finish victories. Aprilia, Bezzecchi and a fully fit Jorge Martin. Watch out, they're going to be title contenders in 2026.
Yeah, back-to-back victories for the first time for Bez and for Aprilia. And a 1-2 to boot. Spectacular showing from Ralph Fernandez, who kept Bezzecchi on his toes until the very end. Their first 1-2 for over 2 years. A Catalan Grand Prix, of course, where Pecco Bagnaia didn't start after his crash moments before the race was stopped. There were no asterisks on this one from an Aprilia point of view. That bike is the class of the field in MotoGP as 2025 draws to a close.
Marco Bezzecchi's third win of the season sees him tied it now with Alex. Only Marc Marquez. There's one more Grand Prix this year than Bez. Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, a lovely nod to his Valencian flag helmet there by Ralph Fernandez. He has the Valencian flag as well. Of course. Brilliant ride. What a ride that was by Ralph Fernandez. He doesn't want 2025 to end, doesn't he? The Spanish rider. Spring podiums in Mandalika and in Australia. That stunning first Grand Prix victory in Phillip Island. Let's not forget, Fernandez was in the medical centre in Portimao 8 days ago, withdrawing from the Portuguese Grand Prix. Big gas about whether he'd be fit to compete in this final Grand Prix. Javier Gian Antonio, though, does exact some revenge on Valencia, having missed out on the podium here 2 years ago. Looking at the good news is for Gian Antonio, we've got no indication of any sort of tyre pressure possibilities as Marco Bezzecchi
who's proposing there to his Aprilia motorcycle. It appears it is a marriage made in heaven in 2025 as Marco Bezzecchi hands Aprilia their first ever back-to-back MotoGP wins.
Well, he's making a proposal to the Aprilia. I'm sure there'll be a proposal for a long-term contract coming their way for Marco Bezzecchi. They saw something in the Italian, didn't they? They knew that he had the potential in a full factory team with full factory support. Sending out a bit of a statement here, aren't they, to it wasn't all told as far as Alex is concerned. The very last of the season, he loses a position and to his teammate of all people, as well as Aldeguer signs off 2025 with a real hard-earned 5th place. Alex just had nothing, did he? Didn't have the grip, it looked like, underneath him on that Ducati GP24. Well, what a way for Aprilia to round off what has been their best ever season in MotoGP. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Massimo Rivolo. Who's the Jack?
Yeah, what a huge weekend for Aprilia. 1-2 for the first time in 2 years. Back-to-back victories for the first time ever. Third in the World Championship for the first time ever. More victories than ever. You guys are ready to fight for the title next year.
We were supposed to do it this year, but the season didn't start.
MotoGP, nothing. It was the game. It's been Aprilia's best ever MotoGP. Aprilia and Marco Bezzecchi, yet another point with full factory support behind him.
Morbidelli has been declared unfit due to a fractured left hand. He will not.
For the first time, a back over the. You're in a full factory. A long-term contract coming away of Marco Bezzecchi. They saw something in the Italian, didn't they? They knew that he had the potential in a full factory team with all the factory support behind him, that he could deliver these kind of results. Enough to fracture a disastrous fashion for Frankie. And 2026 we'll see him, or the start of 2026 we'll see him missing in action on Tuesday at the test. Well, I think the message is loud and clear as far as Pedro Acosta is concerned. KTM have to step up. They've got to find something in terms of performance, certainly in terms of grip on that RC16, because what they clearly have is an A-list talent. They have one of the best riders in MotoGP right now, don't they, in Acosta. He is definitely ready to win. That's the KTM motto, ready to race. Well, yeah, they're ready to race. That's not good enough for Pedro Acosta. He's hungry, he's ambitious, and unfortunately he will hate this stat. He is going into his third season in MotoGP next season, still chasing that first victory.
Fabio Di Gianantonio celebrates third place. A really good weekend, all told, for the VR46 man. Podiums in both the Sprint and the Grand Prix.
Well, this hasn't
happened at all in 2025, that's for sure. So a new ground broken for Digia. The top Ducati home today after Alex Marquez faded so dramatically in the second half of that race. That'll be one of the big mysteries that we'll need solving after the dust has settled here this afternoon. And Antonio, who's had a really close season-long battle with his teammate Frankie Morbidelli, does win that one to take 6th in the World Championship, and he actually only finishes 26 points behind Paco Bagnaia.
It was Qatar 2023, the last time Digia had a double podium when he won the Grand Prix, a career-saving ride, of course it was, that night in the sale. The day, though, belongs to Marco Bezzecchi and the factory Aprilia team. Well, the day belongs to the Niwali factory all round, doesn't it? With a 1-2 for the first time in 2.5 years. That's some way to sign off what's been, at times, a real rollercoaster season for Fabio Di Gianantonio. It's not only Pecco Bagnaia that's had his troubles mastering the GP25, and then Honda do move up then. They are leaving concession rank D. No wonder Luca Marine's got a big smile on his face, because he's congratulating all the engineers that worked so tirelessly behind the scenes to see Honda finally, the sleeping giant, awakening, aren't they, in MotoGP. They'll move up to rank C. They'll no longer be part of the engine development freeze. No testing days now for their official riders. So yeah, success is finally starting to come back the way of HRC. Moving up though from rank D to C isn't going to cut it. They want to be asserting their authority back on the MotoGP World Championship. We've seen Marini and Mia on the 2026 Honda hit on Tuesday. Well, he finishes 2025 on a higher double podium here in Valencia. Fabio Di Gianantonio, he's the Jack.
Fabio, double podium to finish the year, but boy, you had to fight for it today. First coming through and on Alex, then on Pedro. Just how difficult a podium was that?
Fully honest, I expected a little more, but the Aprilias were incredible today. At the beginning, I was missing something compared to the first 4, but after half race, I got my rhythm again, and I saved a little bit more the tire. I was able to be faster and faster and faster, and at the end, the fight for the surprise was amazing with Alex and then with Pedro. I really wanted this podium to finish well the season, to give the team a great achievement to finish the season. So super happy and proud of them and of me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Ciao.
It is indeed just his second double podium in MotoGP for Fabio Di Gianantonio. And talk about contrasting fortunes and mixed emotions if you're part of the VR46 garage right now, with Digia double podium in Valencia to close out his season, and Frankie Morbidelli with a disaster, hitting Aleix Espargaro's factory Honda on the grid and fracturing a bone in his left hand and out of the Valencia Valencia test here on Tuesday. He had to work hard for the sprint podium yesterday against this man, Ralph Fernandez. He worked hard to get the better of Pedro Acosta. But what a way to finish 2025, a breakthrough season for Ralph Fernandez. On the podium once again here in Valencia. He's the Jag.
Oh, what a brilliant ride, what a brilliant day. Success earlier on, and now you've managed to get onto the podium, pushing Marco all the way to the end. Did you think at any point that victory was possible?
Yes, five laps before to end the race. I saw that he make two mistakes. I got 3 tenths. I say maybe it's possible. But anyway, I'm happy I'm here. 7 days ago, I was with my injury in the shoulder, so it is amazing. Thanks to everybody, thanks to the team. They deserve it. As I tell you, I have a family, but anyway, I try until the end with Marco, but to end in a podium in Valencia is fantastic, so thanks to them, y bueno, gracias a todos por venir, porque ha sido increíble.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant way to end a fantastic weekend. And that's put the cherry on top of the cake, hasn't it? Rider of the race, and richly deserved for Ralph Fernandez. His team boss at Trackhouse Pre-race, Justin Marks said they felt like he had the potential to deliver a podium here today, and he really did deliver. That's a lovely gesture as he taps the Valencian flag on top of the helmet. Giving special messages to all the Valencian fans who've come back in their droves here this weekend. First time ever as well, a special moment for this packed crowd. This is the first time that they've been allowed onto the circuit to take part in the podium celebrations. The final podium about to come your way, the final winner in 2025. Back-to-back wins for the first time for Marco Bezzecchi. It's for Jack.
Marco, back-to-back MotoGP victories, third in the World Championship secured. What a year it's been, what a way to finish it, but you really had to work for that one. Raul was not letting you rest.
Was well, I had a lot of fun, I have to be honest, especially in the end, because Raul was super fast, super close, and always getting closer lap by lap, so it was tough, but very, very happy, super satisfied about the job from the guys, and yeah, very, very happy. Can't hope for a better way to finish the season, and now we are gonna celebrate for sure. We need it. We must do it. But Tuesday we start 2026.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's what it's all about. You can't afford to stand still in MotoGP. You cannot rest on your laurels. Today has been fantastic. Today has been great. There's the wedding ring. There's the engagement ring that Marco Bezzecchi made the proposal to his factory. Brilliant. I'll have to ask him what that was all about in the broadcaster set coming up shortly. But as he mentioned, yeah, tonight will be great. They will celebrate their success in 2025, but they'll already got one eye on 2026 and starting to plot potentially the downfall of Ducati and Marc Marquez next season. 2025, though, has given us so many memorable moments, hasn't it? In what has been an unforgettable season. So many historic moments in 22 rounds. Marc Marquez and Alex Marquez, two brothers at the top of the championship for the very first time. Brilliant, really coming to prominence. Big name stars taken out through injuries. First time winners, whole bunch of new podium finishers. Marc Marquez completing the greatest comeback in sporting history for many people. 2025 has just come to a conclusion. We're already for a nice long winter break. But there we say it, roll on 2026.
So much to be excited about. We'll have our first preview, our first snapshot of what 2026 may look like. Without Marc Marquez, of course, though, and now Frankie Morbidelli on Tuesday. Just staying at this Ricardo Tormo circuit to bring you full coverage. You can watch it live on MotoGP.com on Tuesday. We will see Toprak Razgatlioglu and Diogo Moreira make their first MotoGP appearances in public. The Yamaha and Honda Adventures, respectively, they get underway in less than 48 hours' time, so plenty to be excited about, plenty to keep an eye on as we preview 2026 on Tuesday.
It's been a brilliant way to end 2025. Most fans have been in the main grandstands here in Valencia since about 7 o'clock this morning, rating one of the great atmospheres of the campaign. It's Marco Bezzecchi there now. Is a 6-time MotoGP winner. A third of those Grand Prix wins have come in the last 7 days. He really has shone on that factory of Aprilia. Yes, Massimo really said to Jack, they were really hoping to be in the hunt for title success this year. Much of the season, they were missing the brilliance of one of their 2 stars, Jorge Martin. Spent so much of the campaign recovering from numerous injuries, numerous setbacks, but he'll be back. He'll be back bigger, better and stronger in 2026. It's the MotoGP community to join our return to the Valencia community. There's going to be a lot of parties in downtown Valencia tonight. 2025 MotoGP Awards will be taking place in just over 3.5 hours. Let's have a listen, shall we? And to find out what the top 3 said.
Io non do tutto gas. Sì, ma tutto arriva da quando metti la moto dritta. Se metti la moto dritta io la lascio un attimo di più.
Hai visto che è successo?
No, non è vero. No, contro l'Esce Spargarò. Sono amici loro? No, ha distrutto la moto. Ma non è vero. Vabbè, però... Mamma, la madonna che sfiga te. Dio santo.
Comunque da stamattina lo dice qua.
No, sì, ma dai,
Ma che gente oggi? Hanno fatto secondi, credo.
Bella però.
Devi fare modo bronzo di allora.
Ma bronzo fa schifo. Se non la devi fare ora è meglio lasciarla com'è a sto punto. Mi sei venuto su come una bestia però perché
sì,
guarda davvero.
Lui il finale di gara è meglio tenere 3 secondi perché sennò...
Facevo 30 e mezzo, 30 alti, però davanti all'inizio
davanti di gomma?
All'inizio non ero, voi eravate molto più strettini all'inizio.
Io ieri fa conto che ho usato la soft perché un po' mi cagavo, poi teoricamente...
Sì, ma abbiamo sbagliato, perché se ieri mettiamo la soft... Poi è stato pronto al primo giro,
Sì. Io a destra pensavo che non fosse pronto, invece...
Mi piace quella curva, cavolo.
Ieri...
Hai fatto il contro, se passa a me. Tronzo, lo io mi ho fatto come a me oggi.
Ieri vi vedevo e dicevo dai, in altre 2 curve, che arrivo anch'io, invece no, niente.
Curva quadro, Fabio Digli, Gian Antonio, vediamo il nome.
Mettiamo... io non mi sono...
Eravamo vicinissimi. Ma io non c'avevo più niente.
Mannaggia, guarda te. No, ero lontano io, guarda dove ero. Alex è scoppiato.
Nella gara poi de Madrid no se puede ver el mar.
So the top 3 have started their initial processing of that final Grand Prix of 2025. Look at that, thousands of fans are making their way to the podium celebrations here. Podium which ends with Marco Bezzecchi and Aprilia on top, just as they were last weekend in Portimao. Thanks to Fabio Di Gianantonio, it is now, is it 88 successive Grand Prix? I believe it is. Yep. Ducati have been on the podium, so there'll be a bit of relief around as far as Borgo Panigale is concerned. Aprilia's first one clear in 2.5 years. What a way from the Ireland factory to end what has been their best ever MotoGP World Championship campaign.
Which ends with Aprilia second in the Constructors' Championship and Marco Bezzecchi third in the Riders' Championship. What can they achieve with, we hope, a fully fit Jorge Martin back next season? That's enough to whet the appetite, isn't it, for 2026? Fabio Di Gianantonio, a double podium for the first time in 2025. Although he said to Jack that he was expecting a little more than that. It is third place for him. The Aprilia's though too quick today, including Raul Fernandez, who takes second place, showing that his victory in Phillip Island, no one-off. But the one and only today, a match made in heaven with Aprilia. Marco Bezzecchi signs off in style in 2025. Leading every lap this afternoon. Yes, he was kept on his toes by Raul Fernandez in the latter stages, but at no stage did it truly look as if Bezzecchi was going to blink. So Aprilia, can we say for certain that they have the best package in MotoGP nowadays? Maybe we have to wait until we see Marc Marquez back on board ValenciaGP to have the definitive answer. They're making a very strong case right now. Fabio Di Giannantonio then his 6th career podium. It's 4th of the season. Winning that season-long battle with his teammate Frankie Morbidelli. He tripped himself up this afternoon on the warm-up lap. What a day for the Fernandez family. 2nd place for Raul here this afternoon. He finishes in the top 10 in the World Championship. And with his tuxedo rented and his place booked at the MotoGP Awards tonight, 3rd in the World Championship, and ends the championship with back-to-back victories. The brilliant Marco Bezzecchi.
really ended today. Antonio passed Pedro Acosta in third place right at the end, I should say, to keep that streak alive. I guess it's worth picking up on that as to why that streak was in such threat. I guess after a relatively comfortable victory in the sprint yesterday, many were looking at Alex Marquez as the favourite coming into this Grand Prix. His challenge never really gathered steam, did it?
No, it's strange. We'll have to see what Alex has to say afterwards. Of course, today they had to move across with a harder compound rear tyre, and Alex's pace yesterday on the soft was fantastic. But yes, when they made the move across in Portimao a week ago, it's weakened Ducati ever so slightly and strengthened his brilliant at the same time. But I don't think any of us expected Alex to drop much as he did, but that is probably a consequence of what we saw on Friday. Alex said they almost had to forfeit half of Friday in preparation for Tuesday. We saw him running the 2025 Aero package alongside a couple of other things with the 2025 ride height device was on there as well, trying to help that adaptation period to make Tuesday as comfortable and easy as possible for him. As a result of that, Alex himself admitted he forfeited half the day of trying to prepare on a sporting side for Sunday's Grand Prix, and that has cost them today, because it was that second half of the race when you had to put the mileage on the tyres, which they didn't do on Friday, where they went into the unknown and it caught him out.
Alex Marquez at the end faded all the way back to 6th place. He was running second behind Marco Bezzecchi for much of the first half of the Grand Prix, and then once his pace began to drop off, there was no way of Alex Marquez being able to arrest that slide. Overtaken by Pedro Acosta, Antonio, and then on the final lap, Fermin Aldeguer took his place away from Alex Marquez. So I guess a slightly underwhelming start, or underwhelming end to a very strong season for Alex very end championship runner-up. Let's work our way through the Grand Prix chronologically, and by doing that, we have to go back to before the Grand Prix even got underway. We had contact between two riders who, it's fair to say, don't really get on. Aleix Espargaro and Frankie Morbidelli. It's fair to say, without being too harsh on him, that Frankie Morbidelli has picked up some penalties this season due to lapses in concentration.
Yeah, Aleix Espargaro's debrief with the journalist and with media later today will be explosive, because they don't get on. They won't get on in the future, and this hasn't helped at all, because it obviously caused damage to Aleix's bike. It's an incident that we see very, very rarely. The last time I can remember, it was an AF Bastianini, was it? 21, when he went over the top of the Gresini Ducati at the time whilst trying to engage the ride-out device. I cannot remember the last time someone rode into the back of someone across any class as we were waiting for them to line up on the grid. And with regards to Morbidelli, he's not going to be chatting to the media. He's going to miss Tuesday's test because he's got a fracture in that left hand. I mean, if you're Pablo Nieto and all of the VR46 team, you're scratching your heads and thinking that was so avoidable. And yeah, only Frankie himself, when he eventually does speak to us, which will be next year now, will be the one that can explain what was going on, what he was doing, and why that happened.
As you saw it in that footage, Aleix Espargaro performed to stop him in his grid box, so he's perfectly entitled to do that, so he did absolutely nothing wrong. Frankie Morbidelli just, quite frankly, not up behind Aleix Espargaro. Did damage to Aleix Espargaro's Honda as well. Aleix Espargaro pulled in with 2 or 3 laps to go. Aleix Espargaro was sat on the grid, suddenly feels a massive bump to the behind, and he's like, who's that? Turns around and sees his arch enemy on the deck.
Yeah, it's, well, my mother once told me that you don't have anything polite to say, don't say anything at all. So, next question on Frankie Morbidelli.
Next question is about another Italian who had another miserable start to the Grand Prix, again, where his Grand Prix ended. Coming into the race this afternoon, one of the issues issue fourth in the World Championship, Pedro Acosta, the back from Bagnaia yesterday, looked well placed to bridge that Grand Prix. If ever an instant summed up Pedro Bagnaia's end of 2025, Johan Zarco sideswiping out of the race, 4 points.
Yeah, Zarco way out of control. In the end, obviously a disaster for Bagnaia, but we were very lucky there that it was only Zarco and Bagnaia involved in that one, because the way that he flew through up the inside of 2 different riders, obviously it caused Agura, it was to run wide, I think, as well. Yeah, Bagnaia will want to get to Tuesday. We were saying on Thursday, that is a huge test to find out if Ducati can bring some media throughout the course of the weekend, and someone put that very question to him, and he said, rubbed his shoulders, Ducati can bring anything, he'll change it around. We're stuck in this situation, which huge fun, and I can say that, because it feels as though for him, for all of them, just staring right down the barrel yet another season where who's going to play from day one are still going to be there. And if that is the case, then 2026 will be a very, very long year. Pecco Bagnaia, I mean, Ducati have turned that bike upside down. They have tried everything. They will try everything. Try and bring something to try and get Bagnaia back to anywhere near his best, but things just continue to spiral. Had some bad performances with phone making, then he's been bitterly lucky as well. Malaysia with the puncture, things like that. Then again today, but time and time again, how often do riders say, qualify mid-pack, put yourself at risk. Front two rows in the grid, you're out of danger, you're out of very rarely, you know, things happen.
Bagnaia, no scoring in the last five of the season, his longest run of non-scores in MotoGP. Therefore, that at the start we had Marco Bezzecchi first stages from Alex Marquez. Many of us were looking towards Pedro Acosta to really take the fight for them, as he did last weekend in Portimao. He came clear from quite early on, ultimately Pedro Acosta had the pace to really launch it how is today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was obvious that Acosta didn't have what it was to fight for the podium, but it sounds as though one man that could fight for the podium was Ralph Fernandez. So let's head over to the broadcaster set and hear from Raul with Matt Byrne.
Riding in Valencia, so to finish on the podium so close to the victory, first and probably at 2.5 years. What a way to finish.
Yeah, I am very happy. Through that, the Portugal crash, I never thought that I was, or I had a position to come here and fight for the victory. Fight for the victory until the end. Anyway, I feel still a little bit painful, but it was not honest. Marco, some points, I mean, for half a little bit. I tried it until the end and got it. But anyway, there was a very nice day for me, my family, my parents. It's the first time that my brother got the first victory. I mean, fantastic. Now, to me, it is a dream. So, let's try to enjoy a little bit. Important to end the season like this. I feel strong. I feel comfortable with Bayern and I enjoy a lot. I mean that we are ready for 26 and have another. So I am not that we can fight for the title. Still younger than a couple of there. But anyway, I enjoy a lot and to enjoy you are ready.
Amazing start to Sunday, of course, with brother Adrian winning for the first time in Moto3. We saw you celebrating with him down in Parc Fermé. He's had to wait a long, long time, but must have thought at one stage that there might be a double. Fernandez is here in Valencia today. Did you ever think that you might have a chance to catch and pass Marco?
I try. Believe me, I try until the end. But as I tell you, the core that I was quite strong, I had a little bit gap with, and I couldn't catch as hence it was important. Anyway, I try until the end. I'm really happy. Have another chance for the future, or hopefully have another chance. But right now we have to enjoy it. And that's for us. Right now we are.
Almost like you're one of the riders that doesn't really want 2025 to stop. That's such a great thing.
No, I won. To be honest, I want to stop a little bit. The season was quite long, I think, and I need some rest day. Try to enjoy with the family, and after that, come back to the court and try to recuperate the 20.
Well, it's been amazing to see you and Trackhouse win for the first time in MotoGP this season. Great day for the Fernandez family. What a celebration. It's going to be pretty big. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it will be nice.
Yeah, Ralph Fernandez confirming a pretty big celebration for many reasons. Your name is Fernandez. Good point he referenced in his first answer there very quickly. So easy to forget that 7 days ago, Ralph Fernandez didn't even start the Portuguese Grand Prix due to
Yep. Spoke to him on the grids that day, and you could tell he was in a lot. Very, very physical Valencia circuit where there are so many changes of directions. got to really hustle the bike in that middle part of the circuit. It's so tight for him to be able to put that performance together, and on another day he'd have caught and passed Marco Bezzecchi, because as his rear tyre was really starting to tell that Raul's advantage in that final section, particularly I imagine through that long penultimate corner where you're just asking for rubber time and time again. Every lap, in the final 10 laps, that's where he takes his time, a 10th lap. Nick was making Bez sweat. I was stood on the Aprilia pit wall, and I can tell you that both Paolo Bonora and Massimo Rivola were looking at every single sector split to think, is he coming? They were getting nervous. I was getting nervous for Marco Bezzecchi, but Bez controlled it masterfully. And we've said for so long about the potential that Raul Fernandez has got. Aprilia have kept their faith in him. They've always said that the data shows us there is a rider in there. We can unlock it. It feels as though in this final 3 or 4 rounds of the year, they have finally unlocked it. The gap, the break will come, I think, the perfect time for it. He'll go into the winter break full of confidence, the right mental state. He'll come back swinging next year, and you have to say, he's on the right motorcycle. There's no reason why Raul Fernandez won't be fighting for victories on a very regular basis.
To pick up on that, how many questions has Raul Fernandez ultimately answered about himself in the latter part of this year?
I think he's answered all of them. I think a lot of members of the media, maybe even myself included, thought that the Raul we saw in Moto2 was never going to arrive in MotoGP. But yes, it is starting to happen now, and I think he's silenced a lot of critics. He's answered a lot of questions, and the fact that he's now been able to back up that victory in Phillip Island is the most important thing, because the big question mark after Phillip Island was it's a flash in the pan on a freak circuit in freak circumstances, with the big question mark of being Marco Bezzecchi, of course, had that double long lap penalty. But today, pushed Bez all the way, was on the same level as Bez, who's been the standout rider for Aprilia and on the MotoGP grid over the past couple of months. So Fernandez has arrived. He really has answered all of those questions and all of those doubts.
Marco Bezzecchi, your winner today. We're waiting for him to point across with us in just a moment. So what Marco's done this season, of course, the big what if for Aprilia's 2025 is if they've had a fully fit Jorge Martin for this season. But Marco Bezzecchi has elevated himself, hasn't he? Without any question. First season as a factory rider, and he's grown into that position.
First time as a factory rider, taking on all of that, which is so much more work than as an independent rider, not only on track and trying to develop the bike, but with all the engagements and sponsors and everything you have to do off track as well. To do it alone, we also have to take into account it's changed a new team from a family in VR4, we've known all of those guys all of his life pretty much, to moving in as a stranger without taking anybody with him. The new crew chief he's had to learn, and that crew chief as well, Francesco Venturato, was in the role as crew chief for the very first time as well. So the pair of them were learning on the job. Finished third in the World Championship, ahead of Bagnaia, ahead of Acosta, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the points gap to Alex Marquez is, but you know, at the end of it was closing. And you look at some of the points that he left on the table. It's been 25 in Indonesia, could have been 25 in Australia, but for other reasons wasn't able to collect those points on the day. So that's minimum 30, which would have made it even closer once again. I mean, Bezzecchi going into 2026 has a clear rival for Marc Marquez. Now, whether anybody can stop Marc Marquez in his powers is the question, but Aprilia and Bez have got a huge chance to make Marc Marquez work next year. If you can push Marc Marquez all the way, then you really are performing incredibly high level. And you know for a fact that Marc will have been watching today, has been watching over recent weeks, and will be thinking, the fight in my hands next year. I have to provide this something, take a little bit of a step forward, try and fight with you, because you're going to make me work for it.
Checking the old smartphone there when we returned from that package, checking the points gap margin, 114 it was.
Oh, right, okay, so it wasn't close.
It wasn't close, but it was much bigger than that at the halfway stage of the season. No question about that, because we think that's the start of the season. There was signs we discussed criticised that the race pace is pretty good. Markovic here. They couldn't ultimately solve their qualifying woes. So often Markovic starting third, fourth row, even further back than that, back to Aragon. Once they fixed that, it gave them the opportunity to be a race pace that they've got. Marco Bezzecchi, I think what's impressive about his victories is the manner of his victory. When he wins generally by leading from lights to flag, pretty much comfortable margin.
Yeah, and that is a lot down to Mark and the way he's riding, but you think, what were the two massive weaknesses for Aprilia? One, glaring one, getting the bike off the line. And in MotoGP, just look at today, how difficult is it to overtake, especially around a surface like this? You have to start well and get track position. Brilliant weren't doing that. They were giving themselves a mountain to climb. The other huge weakness, well, was tail light. They were successful and competitive in the similar to what we see with ATM now. But then going into the Grand Prix, they just weren't able to live with the final third of the race, which is why we're seeing those huge gaps last year with the GP24 dominance. But they've managed to work on that. And not only is the Aprilia now one of the best starting bikes, because that is Holshop how Holshop do again today. They have clearly made progress there, but look at the tail. I mean, both Raul and Bezzecchi are so consistent, so fast, and able to get into a rhythm that is unable for any of the other manufacturers to match right now. So incredible work by Aprilia. They understood their weaknesses, they've worked on them, and they've made that RSPT so well rounded.
Winner is now ready to speak to us. Back-to-back wins to end 2025. Marco Bezzecchi.
Signing off 2025, his first year with the factory Aprilia team. First time he's ever won back-to-back races in MotoGP. First time an Aprilia rider has ever won back-to-back races in MotoGP. Marco, what a way to sign off 2025. The weekend started with a birthday cake. It's ending with the cherry on top of the cake with a win here in Valencia. That smile says it all.
Yeah, what an introduction. was super nice. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, very happy. Very happy from today's race. I was super motivated after yesterday. Different reasons, I wasn't enough good to fight for the podium, and I was a little bit angry with myself. So super motivated to try to get at least the possibility to fight, because this is the most. So started in front and put my rhythm on, and it was feeling good, and I was able to manage the end, so very happy.
Yesterday, of course, Alex Marquez was super strong in the sprint. I think a lot of people thought it might be if there was a fight for the win between you and Alex, but today, Raul Fernandez was super strong. I think the first fully at 1-2 in Barcelona in 2023, 2.5 years ago. Were you surprised that Raul was so strong and Alex was not the main threat?
Well, I was surprised that Alex was not with us, but not from Raul. Of course, I saw his pace yesterday. I see him during the weekend and being super. Of course, I was hoping for a little bit less, but in the end, especially the last 2 laps, I was a bit afraid, to be honest, because I was managing through all the race, never got carry, let's say, and always in control. But then in the last 2 laps, I started to feel that I was a little bit in trouble with here, and Raul was coming. So super tough, but happy for him, happy for his team, and for the whole Aprilia.
2025 has only just finished, but of course a lot of people are already looking to 2026, the first test here on Tuesday. Marco, the second half of the season has been absolutely incredible. Aprilia really has come on strong. You've won so many sprints, so many Grand Prix now. Third in the World Championship, the highest an Aprilia rider has ever finished in the standings. How confident are you now the way you're riding, the way the Aprilia is, if they continue these improvements, that you can be really fighting for that championship next year?
I'm happy, of course, from how the season ended. It's true that from Silverstone, but especially Assen. Then after Aragon, we struggling a bit. Mugello
was it's such a long season.
Maybe Mugello, Silverstone, Aragon. I don't remember anyway. I think from Assen was the moment where we started quite constant 5 or 6. And I was able to make some races, some good battles with Marquez, some battles overall in the front, and was super cool. But it's true also that in the beginning we suffered a lot, so for us it's important to test on Tuesday. It's true that it's so early that we don't have the possibility to start really hard, but it's already a beginning. Try to have a decent start next year. Of course, Mark and Alex, the riders, strong, but Mark and Alex in particular they've been amazing this season. Mark won 5-6. But we will try to.
Just finally, we know how much you love Aprilia, we know how much you love your bike, we know how much Aprilia love Marco Bezzecchi. You've got the earrings, but today you got the wedding ring out as well. Did the bike say yes to the wedding proposal? It looks like this year it's been a marriage made in heaven.
I asked for my bike because it was the best way to get together. Of course, I want also to say that this bike will come home with me, so it's super nice even more. Fortunately, yes, she said it.
The perfect way to finish the season. Marco, enjoy the honeymoon with your RSGP, and we'll see you in 2026. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we can say with certainty it is a match. Marco Bezzecchi and Aprilia. What kind of match have Fabio Di Gianantonio and that GP25 Ducati made this season? Third place for Digia today. His first double podium of 2025, which I guess tells us that speed has been there on occasions for Fabio Di Gianantonio, but hasn't been able to string that consistency together.
Yeah, it's been an on and off relationship. When it's good, it's very, very good, but when it's bad, it's been very, very bad. I mean, he has had some real ups and downs this year. As Digia, from finishing dead last in Brno and being so uncompetitive, it was really just on the realms of possibility at the head of the weekend to then weekends like the Saxon Ring just before that, where he really should have won the race. And again here this weekend, a double podium, and the second time he's ever done that in his career, and he's really competitive. I mean, Digia's strong suit, as we've seen throughout the year, is his ability to find pace in the latter stages of the race. But mentioned time and time again, yesterday, again today, in the front row degree, Ducati have made some changes that outside, and that's an important podium. I mean, to pick up a result, final race of the season, after having such ups and touchdowns will give him a huge bolt of confidence going into Tuesday and then the winter break. It's a big result for Digia.
Here is Digia. Again, speaking to Matt.
Roller coaster, 5 for Fabio Di Gianantonio. Fabio, for just the second time in MotoGP, you finished with a podium in the sprint and in the Grand Prix. But Saturday and Sunday, you had to work very, very hard for both. I feel like you've got a little bit of revenge for what happened in the Grand Prix here a couple of years ago. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you, for sure. This time the trophy stays with me till home, you know. Also, this night will stay with me. Nobody will steal my trophy. Super happy about the race, about the fight. Happy to finish this. As you said, out of it. Never turned the shoulder to me. We've always been super united, working, try to achieve the maximum, the good and bad times. So it's been a great season part as a human side. Super happy to continue with this group for next year. Yeah, it's been a great weekend. I think it's time for the stats available, let's say. So definitely one of our best weekends.
Full set, of course, the front row, the sprint podium and the Grand Prix podium as well. Starting from the front row, you expect maybe to have a little bit more for the Achilles. I mean, they were so fast all weekend, but do you expect maybe to have a bit more of a challenge at the front?
Honestly, yes. I wanted to win today, but the rhythm that they were on the pretty strong. For me, it was tough to be with them. I was fighting, coming much wider than them, so it was difficult to race. So I had to use the plan B that was saving the rear tire, try to come back at the end. Luckily it worked, but it's been hard, honestly.
We know how hard it is to pass here in Valencia. Really, really tough. We know how good Costa is at defending. I mean, how difficult was it to make that move?
It was braking super strong, but I was seeing since the beginning that he was going the rear tire. I thought he was making mistakes in the braking here and there. So I saw 2 weak points from him and I tried to use them at the end.
Maybe, Fabio, you should be asking Ducati for a little bit of a bigger bonus for that peg, because without you today, it would have been the first time, I think Silverstone 2021, 88 races ago, that Ducati were looking like they weren't going to have a bike on the podium. So thankfully you saved them with that late charge. So maybe...
I go to GT now.
Fabio, a brilliant way for you to finish the season. Front row and a double podium. Great job, well done.
Thank you.
Very good job, well done for Fabio Di Gianantonio. The riders are getting ready for the press conference, so we'll wrap up in around 60 seconds. We don't like giving spoilers out on this show, so if you don't like spoilers, you've got around 5 seconds to turn this off. We want to congratulate the new Moto2 World Champion, Diogo Moreira, who took the title today. He makes his debut on a MotoGP bike on Tuesday. Thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to Jack Appleyard, who's joined us throughout the season, the whole team behind the scenes, Matt Burke, Keith Carson in York, and Neil Morrison, who presented them throughout the season. That job isn't done. He's part of the MotoGP Awards. We're underway. Red carpet from 6 p.m. this evening. The show gets underway at 6:30. That is 2025 in MotoGP this season. And Marc Marquez climbed his Everest at the summit of MotoGP.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the longest season MotoGP World Championship history has come to its conclusion, and we have our final podium of the season in Ricardo Tormo circuit at the end of the Motul Grand Prix of the Valencia community. Leading home the first Aprilia 1 to middle of 2023 is Aprilia Racing Marco Bezzecchi. Marco ending the season back-to-back victories, the first time an Aprilia rider has ever taken back-to-back wins. Of course, Marco for third place in the World Championship. Another fantastic weekend. What a day for the Fernandez family. Adrian winning for the first time in Moto3, and it's for the Raul second. And completing today's podium, a really strong finish to 2025 for Pertamina Enduro VR46 Racing rider Fabio Di Gianantonio. Front row of the grid, sprint podium and Grand Prix podium. Gentlemen, well done to all three of you. A fantastic way to finish 2025. Marco, will start press conference with you. You've given yourself a very late 27th birthday, so it. And of course, the weekend started with you celebrating your birthday. It's ended with you celebrating back-to-back wins. Massimo Rivola and Aprilia Boss last weekend in Portimao described you as perfect. Looked like you were perfect out there once again today, Michael. Was that the perfect way to finish 2025?
Well, the way to finish perfect. Not sure that I'm anyway, yeah. Race. We're happy for how the things went in the last part of the season, especially. And yeah, very very satisfied with the top down from my team, from the whole crew, Nelson, Male, and everyone. So yeah, very very happy now. Of course, we start again.
Great Saturday morning take what was just yesterday. The sense was a bit of frustration that you didn't quite get the job done, you didn't perform as you hoped it. That was the perfect motivation to come back today and just show, yeah, I'm going to be the rider that's going to be the one to beat today.
Well, as you said, yeah, yesterday after the competition I was super confident, but then in the sprint I took like a slap in my face. I wasn't able to fight for the podium, and yeah. This for sure made me angry and motivated to try to be able at least to fight. So very very satisfied and very cool.
Special scenes after the race as well as you celebrate yet another victory. We know you love Aprilia, we know you love the bike. You got down on one knee with a proposal with the engagement ring. Did the bike say yes?
Yeah, let's say that it's now, you know, it's super trendy to get married now, and I wanted to be a little bit trendy. Normally I don't follow kind of things, but I love my bike, was super cool also. I won this bike in a bet because with Massimo I told him that I was able to win 3 races. Then the bike was coming home, and I won the bike, so I had to ask her if she wanted to marry me. And fortunately, she said yes.
Perfect. The perfect way to end 2025. As long as you all get an invitation to the wedding, Marco, we'll be very, very happy. Great job.
I will.
Great ending to the season, as mentioned, for a brilliant first 1-2 since Catalonia in 2023. Second place to Trackhouse MotoGP's Raul Fernandez. It's been a phenomenal end to the season for you, Raul. Last weekend in Portimao, of course, you didn't race because you were injured, so to come here 7 days later to be so close to the victory, what a way you for 2025 as well.
I had a bit classical and I never thought that I had a bit race. But anyway, with all the Kiron, with the photos, we make a super good job today. Well, quite good. I had a little painful in the last part of the race, but it's Valencia. So track, I enjoy a lot when I ride here. So yeah, I tried. Marco in some part had a little bit more, and I couldn't try. But anyway, I'm happy. It's making also for me, my family was a nice day. There's a picture. Then second podium, and yeah, for being very happy.
Well, it's going to be a very long celebration tonight for the Fernandez family. After Adrian won his first Moto3 race this morning, it must have been a time in that race as well, Raul, that you thought you might be able to get close and attack Marco. You might be able to win the Grand Prix.
5 laps to the end, I tried to make a mistake and it was a bit for them. At that moment, okay, if I am a little bit close in, I try. The last sector I was right there. But he doesn't make a mistake. And I try to push again, but also I have to say that Aprilia is making us. I am very, very happy with the bike. They are day by day making something better on the bike, and now it's a lot of time that I.
Today for all the Fernandez family. Raul, congratulations to Adrian as well, and enjoy those celebrations tonight somewhere. So I'm sure it's going to be very, very loud. Completing today's podium then for Protomino Enduro via Politics Racing is Fabio Di Gianantonio. Fabio, just the second time in your career that you're ending a weekend with a sprint podium and a Grand Prix podium. It's been an up and down season. Thankfully, like finishing with an up, a big up as well. You must be delighted to sign up 2025 with that double podium.
We're happy about how we finished. Again, was important with a big result. Happy about everything, let's say, the overall. We worked so hard this year, as unpredictable the result at the time. But we were able to be always united with the team that is not taken for granted. We always trusted each other. We always worked the head down, never stopped. At the end, it worked well because at the end we improved the bike. I was able to be a little more consistent. Last part of this. These are the results. We are making step forward. Today we were the first Ducati with also a little gap compared to the others. For sure it was not possible to win today, but it was super important to make the podium. Super happy about my riding, my team, how we ended.
Yeah, you're happy. I think Ducati are happy as well because that move you made on Pedro Acosta made sure that Ducati continued a run of 88 successive races with the podium at one stage. We thought that might not happen. You had to work very, very hard for that podium, Fabio. Passing Alex Marquez, great move on Pedro Acosta. We know is so good at defending, so how tough was it to get through on those two?
It was tough because I didn't have the advantage, let's say, of tires that I had in 2023. So, like them, I was struggling a little. This is something that we have to do. They were super strong at the beginning, so I had to close the gap, then attacking them. Pedro and the kid, and we know that they are really sticking. Today we had a really great bike to play like him, so it was just a matter of where attack in a way that they attack.
I think everything went.
Start of the year getting injured, Javier, but you ended it with a double podium. Huge congratulations. Gentlemen, well done to all three of you. Great show in front of a massive crowd here today. Brilliant to be back in Valencia for the first time since 2023. That's our final podium of the season then, folks. I'll hand over now for some questions from the media. Thank you.
What changed bike compared to yesterday? Setup, if tell us, and second, where do when you see the track is that Aprilia is stronger last part?
I changed only the tires. Yeah, that's just fix everything. Nothing. Difficult to answer to your question because at the end, I think they are still on at the end of the racing. Pizza, for example, is always like this, but Alex and Mark races. But I don't really know what is like. There is one answer to your question. Racing.
Hello, gentlemen. One question for you, actually. You said earlier on in the conference that you didn't have the advantage of the tires like you had in Turkey. That means that you have more difficulty with the drive to tires. Short answer. My second question is, with regards to Aprilia riders, do you think next year Aprilia will be more of an adversary than they are now?
But with the group, that's quite Prix for next year. For sure, everybody are trying their best to arrive to the maximum of these schools, let's say. And for us as a Ducati, I think we arrived in a moment where it's really difficult to improve the bike because it's a really strong package already. For sure, we have to work double to try to find this fine-tuning proof. But Aprilia is making a really good job, and so they are in a good way, in a positive way of improvement. I don't know about the future. It's always difficult to make predictions. I hope for them, no, that they don't improve so much. But in our case, we have just to focus and try to improve as a rider, as a team, and as a Ducati.
Marco, congratulations on the victory and happy birthday, by the way. And with finishing third in the championship, you've had a great season. The next season, do you see yourself fighting for the world championship?
Well, it's difficult. There is different. And for the top 5, almost every race was super nice. But let's try to start in a good way. First of all, we are working super hard and try at least for time. We will see.
Time. First, Paul. Happy. But the whole season, how did really help you at this whole season fighting and
I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, Davide, as yeah,
first. But well, reason was he yes that everything like of course doesn't arrive. I don't know if now we are here fighting for the podium or we know that it's five now.
One week ago.
Yes. Like Ras, I started to work with them here almost at 99. But now I feel that we are right now together, all the now no, that but we for a lot. Is founded. Ras, I think, art. Thanks to them for the afternoon. In yesterday practice, we were a lot with it. Yes, good. And yeah, at that reason now
Curato Mov, congrats to all three, and stupid question for Marco. Question? Oh, stupid? Yes, very stupid. But I love the story about the bike, so I wanted to know if you're considering to bring her to your bedroom, like Valentino did with his own.
No, not in my bedroom, but I have a perfect.
Can you tell me about that?
It's in my living room. I have a huge space that kept all the season empty. It's the first thing that I see when I go inside the house. Like this, when I went back home from training, I remember very well. Quite what's it?
Well, you've spoken before about how important it is to have Adrian paddock. Little brother won his first race today and talked about how important it is to have you in the paddock as his support network. What is it about having him around? How did the two of you guys work together, and how have you made each other stronger?
We are making it in 3 years ago, but now look like that everything coming easier and the results are coming. But it's very important. It's very active. I have a brother, and also I am doing. So when I have ways to go to gym, train, time. Yeah. Fun. Important.
Grzegorz Polska Sport, question to Ligia. Fabio, the thing, if you were to help Ducati and make a suggestion which bike to use next year, what would it be?
Good choice.
Morrison, congratulations to all three guys. I have a question for Marco back here. Marco, this is the second time you finished third in the championship after 2023. Do you feel that you're riding at a better level now? And if so, how have you become a better rider since?
Well, of course, we must improve every day to try to be competitive, because the level is high, but also is getting higher day by day. Having like Mark, like Alex, rivals push you to try to become better. So for sure, I was able to improve. I say that I just put I put all the effort that I could to work always hard, and big part of this improvement I think is also because when you have the right people close to you, this make a big difference. I have to say that I feel super nice with the academy. I feel physically super good, fortunately. But also my team, the whole factory made me feel good. So this for sure was helping. Then the rest I have to continue like this.
We do video rider. So start with the
And yeah, I am rider that they at the year, but I was different maybe for that reason. I mean, try to, like I said, yeah, right? Maybe doesn't help you out. Anyway, the bike is better. The bike is now I enjoy that really.
Marco, Raul, Fabio, thanks for a great show today here in Valencia. Thanks for so many memories in 2025. We'll see you for the start of 2026 on Tuesday. Thank you guys. Well done.